Talking to Xander kind of reminds me of what sports talk used to be in Philly. Passionate, hardcore, Now we have the mixture of snowflakes that are involved in it, so you got to kind of weed through those guys. Because it's always snowing in America nowadays with snowflakes. Some places have more snowflakes than others, okay? Some snowflakes, boy, I'll tell you what, man, you get your car covered. Some not so much. I'm hoping not so much here. By the way, before we kick this bad puppy off, we want to thank our good friends at BetUS. Big Sills and the National Football Show and JAKIB Sports is powered by BetUS. We implore you to go there. If you're looking for a brand new betting house this football season, that is your one-stop place. And that being said, we always start the show off with Big Sills. And it's going to be a big show today. Yeah, truth, justice, in the Big Sills way, man. I never get tired of telling the truth. Some of you run from the truth, but Big Sills never runs from the truth here, especially when it comes to covering your team. And get this, by the way, we're going to start expanding out here as we get into Labor Day week, because that's really the week that the 53-man rosters are set. And on top of that, you're going to see some significant cuts. Money will be a factor in this. Hey, some guys may not have what they're looking for organizations. They want to go younger. There's organizations right now that are almost pseudo waving the white flag like New England. Okay? Andreas Sills, is Dean going to have a bounce back year? Bounce back from what? He's never had a year. A bounce back. Okay? Look at Arthur, man. He and Rashad Penny. Hey, one thing you guys can always count on with Arthur. Arthur is 0 for 1 so far. I don't know if I'd be betting the things that Arthur says, because last year he said that Rashad Penny would be like a major impact player for the Eagles. They never took that Chevrolet out of the barn. How you doing? Arthur, keep putting those prognosticating takes of yours out there, dog. All good, man. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the players today. Like I said, you know what, dude? We don't take really anything away from the people that cover the team. I could care less what they say, unless it's our guy, John. I like John's stuff. John does a great job for JAKIB. He really does. And by the way, I say this about Paul Domowitz, and I can't stand the guy, and he can't stand me. I think he does a great job. Hey, that's got nothing to do with talent. Whether I like you or not, or you like me. See, the difference between me, though, is I'll work with you. Even if I hate your guts, I'll work with you. You help my network. You help my show. I don't give a shit about that. We're not going to be friends. But if you can help my football team, I'll put an asshole on my football team any day. That's where some of you will go, well, he's a cowboy or he's something else. And you're like, who cares? Does he help you win? This is about winning. Winning has no loyalty. It has zero loyalty except to yourself. Players have no loyalty except to themselves, their family, their paycheck, then maybe their team. Let's tell the truth here. Players have loyalty. Hoss, I'm loyal to my family and my bank account. When you're a pro ball player, that's how the organizations are. They're loyal to their salary cap and to their roster, not you. How you doing? The Twitter live with the you guys was good. You actually sounded human. JM. No. Then you must not have been listening to it correctly, because when I go on with Luther Campbell and I talk with Luther Campbell, those boys are hardcore guys, man. Ain't for the faint of heart. Okay? Ain't for the faint of heart when you go in there to those rooms. Because I say it without a doubt. University of Miami has had hadn't had a decent football season in 20 years. I'm sick and tired of the bullshit. Sick and tired of it. I'm harder on the Canes than I am your Eagles. How you doing? Big Sills, nice show, brother. I enjoy it. Thank you so much, Kings fan. I appreciate you being here, man. Guys, please hit the like button. Thank you very much, Samuel, for reminding me. JM, thank you, brother. That's pretty cool. I'll tell Luther Campbell you checked in. Luther always sends me an invitation wanting to get my take when it comes to Canes football. And plus, we got a game next weekend against the Gators, the Howie Roseman Gators. I'm going to make sure I tell Clint Hurt to get something to old Hop Along Howie. Yes, sir, baby. I want to kill those guys up there, man. Hey, I just want to kill those guys. Monday will be a very difficult day if the Canes lose to the Gators. Okay, August 31st, baby. It's the Hop Along Howie's Gators versus Big Sills Canes. How you doing? I'm no longer watching Philly 500. He has no clue about football. Come on, Steve. He's a good dude, man. It's a really good podcast that he has. It's a heck of a show. Sills, you ready for FSU Georgia Tech game this weekend? Can't believe college football is here already. Absolutely. How about this? 17 days until September 6th. And the Philadelphia Eagles are going to roll their team out like a brand new car that came off the showroom floor, and they're going to roll right into the Green Bay Packer game on the road in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Wow. What a display. It's kind of like, a new car show. You don't know what you're going to be looking at. And boy, if you follow that ESP dude, Jalen Hurts has broken all kinds of passing records. Too bad he can't during the year. Hey, how come that guy has a super year in the preseason, and then when you get him in the regular season, he throws for 3,700 yards? That guy's so proficient and so good at what he does. Why did Baker Mayfield have a better year? Well, Hurts wasn't very good in last year's camp. Oh, okay. Neither was Dak. Dak led the NFL in touchdown passes. I had a guy actually say this. Hey, Sills, how come you're not touting Purdy over Jalen Hurts? I don't have to. The last time those two teams met, they crushed you. Purdy and his team destroyed you. What are you talking about? Camp? Oh, yeah, that's right. The thing that Vic Fangio calls not football. Oh, man. Give me a break, man. He didn't look great with those blitzes. Yeah, we're going to talk about this, man. New car, Sills. This Eagles team is more like a 67 Shelby GT 500. Damn. Woo! Eduardo, how about this, a 1967 GOAT? How you doing there? Would you take the 1967 GOAT, or would you take that Shelby GT 500, though, man? Holy cow. That's a great-looking car with the solid lights on the back. I've actually driven one of them things. Eduardo, right? It's got the solid lights on the back. That car is absolutely insane. And does that thing freaking fly? Thing's good, man. Twiz, according to Jeff Kerr, Cooper DeJean didn't have a good day today. Hey, Crowley, Cooper DeJean's not going to have a good finish to the camp. He's missed it. That's what I'm telling you, man. Okay? That's what I'm telling you. That guy's not going to be ready for week 3 or going into the bye. Stop with that. 68 Camaro, good. 1963 split window coupe, Corvette. That's another one, juniors. All right. No question. One thing we're learning about your football team, they have increased the intensity level of practice this year, and that's by design. And I have a feeling that it has a lot to do with Vic Fangio's mentality. They are practicing their asses off, and they are more physical than they have been in 3 years. That is clearly by design, that they've been more physical. Okay? They're practicing longer. They're hitting more in camp. more individual one-on-one. I mean, there's an emphasis that's been made this year. Okay? And I got to say it, man. Kudos. As of August 20th, these coordinators look like the right hire. They look like the right hire. Vic Fangio get this. Did Vic Fangio fail in Miami? Probably. And I'll explain here in a second. Trey, Dan, do you think it's too much love and hate towards Hurts? A lot of people think he's overrated, and a lot of people think he's underrated. No, he's a good player. Trey, he's a good player. Okay, he's a good football player. There's I've never said he's not. He's a good player. You're going to win games with him, and with that offense and that talent. You know what you're going to do, Trey? He's going to be as good as the huddle that's he's in. If the huddle becomes lesser, he'll be lesser. There's very few quarterbacks at that dynamic. The team still continues to have success. Jalen Hurts is a product of his huddle. You take some of those components out of it, he's not carrying a football team. That guy is not carrying that team. Anytime there's a dynamic that's taken out of that huddle, I think Brock Purdy the same way. I think Brock Purdy too. You take some dynamics out of that huddle. Now, I will say this about Purdy. He's younger than Jalen. Maybe he evolves into being that guy where you can lose people like Brandon Ayuk. I don't know that yet. By the way, I don't know that about Joe Burrow yet. Okay, I mean, you take T. Higgins and you take Jamar Chase, one of those two guys away, how does he respond? We haven't seen that yet. Hey, he's had great success versus Mahomes. Okay? I mean, wouldn't. Is it arm talent why he can't carry a team? Leo, Black Leo with that. It's his skill set why he can't. Black, here, he's not a proficient passer. But I'll take that back. He's not a prolific passer, Black Leo. He's not a prolific passer. He's not going to win a game just with his arm. So, and by the way, this here, I want this to land for you, Black Leo. This is not a rip. Okay? It's not a rip. Lamar Jackson needs his wheels for him to be successful and win 14 games. Okay? Lamar Jackson's a better version of Jalen. And I've said it before, he's a better version of Jalen. Okay? He's more electric. He doesn't need superstar talent around him on offense. Okay? He just doesn't. Guy won 14 games last year with nobody in his huddle. Okay? I mean, he's electric. Jalen is a product of his huddle. I mean, you got two 1,000-yard receivers. You got a 1,000-yard back. You got the best O-liner, one of the top 3 O-lines in football. There's nothing that he doesn't have at his. Jalen Hurts has been given more accessories than any Eagle quarterback in history, including Randall Cunningham. Randall Cunningham, McNabb, no one has had the type of talent or have spent the kind of resources that the Eagles have spent for one guy. Is Jalen Hurts more talented than Randall Cunningham? Absolutely not. Is he a better passer than Donovan McNabb? Absolutely not. But Jalen can take all those things and win. And by the way, the difference between those quarterbacks and Hurts is the talent in the huddle. Hurts is on a super team, just like Isaiah said. It's not a rip. How many football players? And Dez goes with a terrible defense too. That's organizationally, my friend. They decide to build the offense up and spend the money and do nothing on defense. And year in and year out, they're constantly evolving and using a revolving door on your defense. That's been designed since you won the Super Bowl. That's a company edict. That's nothing Hurts can do about that. That's how they operate. That's how Howie does business. That's not on him. Okay? That's how you operate. I agree. Although Hurts might be a better quarterback than Lamar, but not overall player. Okay. I don't hate that. I don't hate that. I don't hate that. Both those things can be true. Okay? Both those things can be true. Yeah. Jim Kelly never won a Super Bowl with 2 AP wide receivers and a Hall of Fame running back. Okay, so they drafted all those guys except for one. They didn't acquire A.J. Brown. Andre Reed was drafted. They got the one from the Packers. The running back Thurman Thomas they drafted. They didn't go out and acquire Barkley. They didn't acquire A.J. Brown. They drafted those dudes. That was Bill Polian, along with Marv Levy, that built that football team in Buffalo. That was with superior drafting. The majority of that Buffalo Bills team, 90% of it was through the draft. I mean, most of your exceptional players are through free agency. Where do you see the Birds ending their season? Listen, I'm not sold on your defense yet. Okay? I'm not. JM, it's a different NFL today. More teams and more people are mobile. You have ability to move more, and teams do it. Players do it more. I think LeBron James was really the first guy to do it. Back then, players didn't move. They didn't move. When you were a quarterback of a football team, you were on that football team. Now you get to be mobile. Look at how many teams Baker Mayfield has been on. Like I said, Jared Goff, all these guys are mobile now. If somebody is not getting it done, organizations move off the quarterback faster than they used to in the past. Or trades. Pre-salary cap era, big sales, absolutely. All those teams were built prior to the cap. And a lot of times, some of these quarterbacks, look at the Raiders. Raiders had to move off to Derek Carr and his $45 million. Couldn't afford him. LeBron James started something that every single athlete that I'm glad can do now, and that he's mobile. Organizations, you actually hold an organization accountable for being successful. Years past, if an organization wasn't building and doing the right thing around you, you were a slave to that environment. Now you get an opportunity to leave if you think that organization's not doing right by you. I love it. It holds them accountable. I'm not staying in a place so that you can destroy my career. That's not going to happen. Okay? It's just not going to happen. I'm actually in agreeing with you. I'm saying talent around a quarterback doesn't win anything unless the quarterback is top tier. Jim Kelly's a top tier quarterback. Okay? Jim Kelly was going against arguably one of the greatest defenses. And by the way, there's no coincidence. Most of the Super Bowls that they lost to a dynasty in the Cowboys, and they lost to the Giants with Lawrence Taylor and Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells. Those are great football teams defensively. They were not chopped liver. Those teams were exceptional teams. I mean, offensive line was great. Now, I wouldn't say that the Giant offense was spectacular, but the Giant defense was. You had you have still people to be named to the Hall of Fame yet. I think Carl Banks will one day get to the Hall of Fame. Maybe even Leonard Marshall. That's a great football team, man. That Giants team beat the Niner teams, beat the Bear teams, beat those Eagle Gang Green teams. That Gang Green team was great, but they unfortunately played in the era of the Cowboys and also the Bears and the 49ers. Can you imagine what the Eagle teams with Cunningham would look like today? They'd look like Kansas City. They would look like if that Randall Cunningham Philadelphia Eagle team was in today's NFL, they'd be Kansas City. They would be the Chiefs. Personally, I won't say it, but boy, every time how about this? I'll say it this way. You know what? Every time I watch Patrick Mahomes play, he reminds me of Randall Cunningham. And I'll leave it there because I don't want to be called an idiot, but boy, Randall Cunningham, boy, Mahomes plays a lot like him. I mean, you had to see Cunningham up close. It's fucking crazy. This crazy athlete. Like, you know those behind the passes? I saw this guy hurdle people. Incredible. Question, Sills, which quarterback achieved more in the NFL outside of Mahomes and Rodgers? Are you talking about active that's playing right now? It's Jared Goff. Or maybe you would say Stafford, because Stafford has a Super Bowl pelt on his resume. And also Russell Wilson. We're talking about guys that are in the game right now. Those players, when you look at accomplishments and you look at resumes, those guys all have tremendous accomplishments. So I'm not sure if Hurts is a beneficiary or victim of his huddle. In 2023, Philly had 7 players with over 100 reception yards, while Kansas City had 12. KC spreads it around while Philly feeds the beast. That's why I told you about primary target versus a group. Kansas City and Andy believe in the group. He believed that way when he was in Philly. And I think that's what Matt LaFleur believes also. There's not really one guy that's a primary target. Now, Sean McVay has 2 primary targets with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. So some places, but then again, Sean McVay is an exceptional play caller. I would even make the argument that McVay could even be a better play caller than Andy. I mean, all the quarterbacks he touches end up doing something. Look at Baker Mayfield. He turned him around. If the offense finishes top 5 and the defense is still bottom 5, how much credit or blame will you give Jalen? How many wins should we have? Dez, the blame goes on Howie, not the players and the coaches. I think the schemes and the systems are fine. This is a Howie Roseman problem if they lose. You can't blame coaching anymore. Nick has been clipped. Okay? He's been circumcised. It's in the hands of Kellen now and Vic Fangio. There's no excuses. Either you have the people and the talent or you don't. There's no bell curve here. This is not a Jalen thing. The offense, you're going to roll that out, not having any quality reps. Fine. We'll see. I don't subscribe to that. I think old systems and old styles like Kansas City does, I like it. Even Jordan Love plays. Okay, so, I mean, I think you need quality reps. People go, well, I'm not. Dude, you get hurt anywhere. Who would have thought Aaron Rodgers would have got hurt 4 minutes into the 2023 season? Nobody. That's football. Hey, sometimes the football gods throw the bolt of lightning down, and no matter what it is, you could get hurt in practice. Guys, please hit the like button. Still starting early. What's outlandish? What's fucking outlandish? Andreas, give me a definition when you say, what outlandish shit are you talking about? Team is winning 13th. You do not have a 13-14 win defense. You do not. You're the worst linebacking core in the league, and because the guy's playing well in practice, You're ready to call him an all-pro. What a dumbass. I just watched 22 highlights of Hurts compared to 23. Nothing was underthrown in 22. In 23, he had less pop in his legs and in his arm. Yeah, but surgical, remember something with 22. The game plan was in his hands. And what I mean by that is he had more control of the game in his hands. The RPO gives the quarterback more control of the game. Remember something, when Shane Steichen goes like this, and I'm making this up, okay? Let's just say this. Mad Love 38. It's an RPO. Jalen goes to the line of scrimmage. He hikes it. The game and the play is in his control. There's not a predestination play like it is when you're talking about a Kellen Moore offense, when you're looking for landmarks and you're looking for book points that are out there in the defense, safety, strong safety, linebacker. RPO, it's in his hands. Is he going to keep it? Is he going to throw it? Is he going to run with it? The game was in his hand in 22. The game was taken out of his hands in 23, and he was told where to throw the ball. That's why it always looked like he was throwing grounders and behind the sticks. And he was late. You're going to eat those words, Sells. Okay. Your defense is not good. Prove it to me. Okay, I'll eat those words. Prove it to me. Prove it. You haven't yet. And I still think you got lesser talent than you did a year ago. And you're going to go, wait, we just drafted. I don't know. We'll see. How come I talk more like your coordinator and you can't handle it? None of you could be coached by Vic in here. What Clint's saying about Carter, defensive MVP, I'll get to what Clint Hurt thinks of him. How come Vic Fangio talks like I talk? And it just shows me some of you can't be coached by a guy like Vic. Some of you may like that, but you couldn't be coached by him because you couldn't handle the brute and honest truth about who you are, where you are. Okay? You couldn't. You say you like Vic. You couldn't be coached by him. You have to have some heavy metal because there might be a day he just jumps your ass in front of the entire crew. You motherfucker. What were you thinking? 3 technique. How many times do we have to go over this bullshit? I have gone over it with you sitting in film room. I've gone over it with you after a game. What are you thinking? A 2-year-old has the attention span of 4 seconds. You can't remember something I just told you a second ago? Right in front of the team. Can you handle that? Doubtful. And I clipped it just in case you try to load and say you didn't. I don't ever do that. You keep those things as much as you can. Okay? No problem. By the way, the shows are archived. It's not like, what are you suggesting? I'm Kamala Harris? That I could sit here 3 months ago or 3 years ago and say something completely different than what I'm saying on August 20th and say I never said that? You have me confused with Kamala Harris. Okay? I know those videos are out there. Okay? You can't hide from it. All right? Hey, I never said that. People in PA are going, didn't she say she hated fracking? I love frackers. Hey, I'm going to open up my own fracking store. Holy shit. Let's see. Hey, all right, we're going to get in. I want to get into the players. The players. That's what I do. Once again, guys, I want to tell you exactly. Here, I'm going to show you something here. Steele's moving from the RPO to more of a read option scheme will turn Hurts from Magic into Stockholm. More dishing the ball, check down, less drive to the hole. Might just suit Hurts' skills. Could. Okay? He's going to have a ton of checkdowns this year. He's going to have a ton of checkdowns. Once again, let me ask you a question here. Boy, I can't believe how people don't understand sports talk or when you cover sports. Let's do it this way. And again, I use Carson Wentz as the benchmark for this. What do you think caused the shit? What do you think caused the shit defense we have now compared to 22 season when we had great defense? Vonnie, you had experience. You had veteran leadership. Look at the years you had. You had 11-year veteran in Javon Hargrave. You had a 10-year veteran in Fletcher Cox. You had a 12-year veteran or 13-year veteran in Dominic Sue. You had a 14-year veteran in Linval Joseph. Just in your interior. Just in the defensive tackle position alone. You had veteran linebackers that all got you over 135 tackles apiece. You had experience in the secondary at the safety position. Gardner Johnson didn't have to really be a technically sound guy, and he wasn't that year. He wasn't a really good tackler. He was graded one of the worst, but he had players around him. And when they played that center field defense, what was the one? James Bradbury could play on that 22 defense. Why? 70 sacks, 140 hits on the court, 140 quality rushes that year. Think about the volume of pressure you had. And I've explained this the other day to you guys. In 2022, here, my friend, in 2022, the routes went here off the line of scrimmage. Wait, 2022, right. The routes went here. In 2023, because of the lack of pressure, the routes were here. Defensive backs were playing with receivers in their face. They weren't playing with receivers in their face in 22. The pressure completely was the reason that the 2020, you went from third or second in pass defense to 31st. Your pass defense was destroyed because of the lack of pressure. Graham didn't hit double digits. Sweat didn't hit double digits. You had no double-digit sack guy in the middle. Hargrave was a miss. Now, would I rather have Carter? Yeah. Yeah, but, 6.5 from Fletcher. That's not horrible. But look at how many sacks you gave up. What's his name? Hassan Reddick had 5 less. What's his name? Brandon Graham had 9 less. Defensive in the middle, you had 5 less. All across the board. Guy on the other side, Josh Sweat, had 10 sacks. He had 3 last year. That's 7. You gave up, you probably dropped 30 sacks last year in pressure alone. The D-line made the corners all pros in 22. Yeah, the front 7 was getting home. Okay? Sills, in 22, your team lacks experience. They won't beat anyone. Then in the same breath, I picked up the Super Bowl. That is absolute bullshit. That I said players like that. I picked the team to go to the Super Bowl. No experience? I said, what are you talking about? That team was littered with experience. All across the board. What are you talking lack of experience? Your 23 team, you mean? Yes. That's an absolute bull-faced fucking lie. Holy shit, Prince. Very disappointing in you. Okay. We'll move on here. Let's go to some of the players here. I'll do Kellen Moore last. I'll do Kellen Moore last here. By the way, guys, please hit the like button. We appreciate it. Okay. Let's do Bryce Huff out of the gate. Let's do Bryce Huff out of the gate here. Let's see here. If our D-line gets pressure, our corners don't matter as much. 17, we didn't have great corners, but our pass rush was insane. It was very good. Okay. Here we go. So I was listening to Bryce Huff, and I was listening to him talk. And so, okay, once again, no takes are in cement because players' careers aren't. Do we agree with that? Some players get better. Some players get worse. I'm not a fortune teller. Nakobe Dean's career could get better, and he could play better. Right now, he hasn't. That's who he is. Is that not reality? Or is what you call flip-flop when right now Nakobe Dean sucks? Could he play himself into being better? 99% of you in here flip-flopped on Carson Wentz. But you really didn't, in my eyes. Carson got off strong, played very well, and then he faded. Well, it happens in careers. Some guys are around longer, some guys aren't. Some guys have a moment where they look like superstars, and some guys have it at the back end of their career or the front end of their career. No career, the only career that I've ever seen with an equal heartbeat is Tom Brady. I've never seen ups and downs. He's the only guy that has a heartbeat that goes across like this. Here's Brandon Graham's career. Watch this. You tell me, did you guys flip-flop on Brandon Graham when he was down here struggling for 5 years? And all of a sudden he got better. And he got better. And now he's at the back end. He was down here for 5 years. How many people thought Brandon Graham was a bust his first 5 years? Would you say he was a great player? Would you say he was? Who wouldn't have a take where he's not performing well and he looked like Derek Barnett? How many people didn't think he looked like Derek Barnett early in his career? So Mike, are you going to sit around and go, hey, Brandon Graham's still a great player when you're watching a guy suck out loud? Okay? I mean, but that's the projection sometimes of a career. I am not a fucking fortune teller. I'll let you know when I'm giving you my opinion. But when I watch people today and what they've done, I go by your resume, not by what you think the resume will be filled in with. People are already going, Quinyon Mitchell's going to be a great player. You don't know that. He's got the characteristics of a good-looking, talented guy who might be able to be a really good player in this league. Isn't it funny that I talk to you like Vic Fangio and you can't take it and you can't fucking handle it? 95% of you in here could not be coached by that guy. Absolutely not. You know why? You can't handle hearing who you are. Are you saying Vic is lying? Vic said Mitchell's going to be a good player. I didn't hear great player. I said he's going to be a really good player. Did you not hear Vic also say that Bryce Huff is a work in progress and it's coming along? You know, he's being asked to do things he's never been asked to do before, but it's a work in progress. Did you hear that one too? When asked the other day about Nakobe Dean, he said he's doing good. Unlike you guys. Okay? Let's have a come to Jesus conversation here a little bit. Try to stay a little bit balanced. Look at Angel. Why so much Eagle hate? You think, does Vic Fangio hate the Eagles too, Angel? I'm repeating what Vic said. Angel thinks that I repeated what Vic said. Why the Eagle hate? Well, then Vic Fangio hates the Eagles too. Okay? I mean, then he hates the Eagles too. Because he ain't pumping up old Bryce Huff yet. He ain't pumping him up. All right. So I listened to Bryce Huff. I really didn't hear anything. He was asked a really weird question about Aaron Rodgers by some dickhead Philly guy, and I didn't get it. What's Aaron Rodgers and the Jets and that drama last year have to do with anything that he has to? Jesus criminy. Can you please, somebody outside of John McMullen, ask a decent question? How's it coming along your run stopping? Holy shit. Hey, what was that like playing with Aaron Rodgers last year? Are you fucking kidding? Who gives these guys these press credentials? I don't give a shit about Aaron Rodgers. A rock could fall in front of the cave he's in, and they need to have rescue workers go, and I wouldn't care. What was that? How's your run stopping coming? How's the skill set? And how's Vic working with you? I couldn't believe that question. I was like, what is that? But where do we draw the line between protection and benefit of doubt? It's sometimes hard to tell the difference in your takes, in my opinion. Okay, that's a fair question, Marshall. Okay, well, Marshall, I like to do things with some conviction and not give you a waffle answer. Is that okay? I mean, I'm not being a dick to you. By the way, thank you for the super chat. I'm not being a dick. I'm just saying I talk with conviction. Okay? I don't like gray area or waffling. I wasn't raised like that. And you are what you are now, not what you think you're going to be. Listen, do I think, if you're asking me an opinion, Sills, down the road, do you think that Quinyon Mitchell could be a really good player? Yeah, he's shown the characteristics of it. What is he right now? I don't know. Seems very athletic. They're trying to get him on the field. They're putting him in the slot, and they're putting him in nickel in that corner. That's the truth. I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. You want me to do like parades down Broad Street and shit? Sorry, dudes. That's not happening. Okay? And hey, Marshall, it's a good take. Hey, Prince, I don't give a shit if you can't dissect what I say. I don't. That's a you thing, dude. I've been doing this for 35 years. I've done very well with it. And I've done very well with my show. So thank you. But okay, when I need somebody to tell me and quantify my takes, that'll be when I'm done. Our pass rush is trash. I wish we had a good pass rush, but Sill's probably better than what we got, in one who thinks we have a good pass rush is blind. Billy, we'll see. I don't believe you have a good pass rush. I just don't. Okay? I really don't. Guys, please hit the like button. We appreciate everybody here. Thank you guys so much. So I didn't really get a lot out of Bryce Huff. I thought the Aaron Rodgers question was really bizarre. Jordan Davis. I liked his energy. I liked him at the mic. I did. He takes responsibility now because Fletcher's not in the building. Everybody is taking a leadership role in the building, especially at the tackle position. He said, "We are the future." Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter for the Eagles. Good. I love all that stuff. I love that. You're taking accountability for yourself. Okay? You are. Robert says something here that's facts. Jordan Davis is still soft until proven otherwise. I wouldn't call that guy soft. I'd call him lazy. They've got to beat the laziness out of him. Okay? Dan Sileo, I love your show, but when you say the Cowboys, your Cowboys are winning 5 games, I think you're crazy. Dak is one of the all-time great quarterbacks. Look at his stats. Okay, so he's Warren Moon. He's Dan Fouts. He's Phillip Rivers. What those guys ever win? And by the way, you have the worst running back room in pro football. You have a receiver that is not in camp. And do I think that's a problem as of August 20th? Probably not. But your entire offseason has been dealt with dealing with contracts instead of dealing with getting better. You've soared up a little bit your run defense. Linebackers aren't bad. You've got a way better secondary than the Eagles do, which is a given to you, okay? They don't even know who their second corner is. You got 2 Pro Bowl corners. And you've got a Pro Bowler at the safety position. So you're better back there. Your edge rushing is probably better than the Eagles. The interior tackles are clearly Philly. So you got them on defense. But offensively, you're nowhere in the room with them. And by the way, for the record, you're not horribly ahead of them on defense, which gives the advantage to the Eagles. Big time. Now, I mean, remember something. Dak Prescott was better without Kellen Moore. Dan Sileo named the difference between Dak Prescott and Aaron Rodgers. One's got 4 MVP awards, Super Bowl MVP, a Super Bowl win. He's 3-1 in touchdowns to interceptions. He's one of the greatest passers in the history of the sport. He's got about 500 passes, touchdown, and about 117 interceptions. I've never seen anything like it. To compare Dak Prescott to Aaron Rodgers is like comparing the sun and the moon. They're not close. Okay? That's delusional cowboy guy right there at its best. If you think that Dak Prescott and Aaron Rodgers are in the same room, you're high. Dak Prescott is a equivalent to Tony Romo. They're the same guy. They're the same guy. And for the record, Aaron Rodgers will be I don't know, because the media people are ignorant. They'll hold his vaccination against him probably. And probably treat him like shit for some reason, whatever. Because that's what voters do now. They take their Hall of Fame vote and use it as a political vehicle now. That's why they keep Bonds and all these other guys out. They're not doctors. Okay? NFL Hall of Fame voters are not doctors. Okay? You're not a psychologist. You're a newspaper writer. Act like it. Must be a Mark Holmes burner. Okay. If Dak was all that, Dallas would have given him a bag years ago. Relative, you're right. Sales 49ers, 4 projected starters from 2024 draft that can start day one. Eagles have how many projects? Well, your entire linebacking core is a project. Your cornerback 2 is a project. One of your safeties is a project. Your edge rusher, Nolan Smith, and the other edge rusher is a project. All of them are projects on defense. Every one of them. Every one of them. The only sure thing fired that's on that football team defensively is Jalen Carter. I'm pretty confident in that. Okay? Pretty confident. Jalen Carter. It looks like he's going to be something special here. Dallas has had 2 mediocre quarterbacks in the last 15 years. Well, a backup quarterback won your Super Bowl. So how many quarterbacks have the Eagles had in the last 30? McNabb? Hurts? So you've had 2 quarterbacks in 30 years. Is that right? I mean, let's not talk like the Eagles have been producing quarterbacks. You burn them up. I mean, Green Bay turned the Cowboys game into a comedy show. Yeah, they did. They did. They were more prepared. They're a better football team, especially on defense. No, you're better than Dallas. You're better than Dallas. Let me get back in here with Jordan. He's working more on lateral pursuit, which is excellent. I think he struggles at that, going down the line of scrimmage. And then when you watch him play against that Buffalo Bills team and you watch him run down Josh Allen, you know he has it in him to be able to make that play. Clint Hurts working a lot more lateral movement with him, sliding down the line of scrimmage, making sure those scrape lanes are great for linebackers. It's a great technique. And, you know, as you know, I talk to Clint a lot. And he's gotten better at his footwork. That's why he's lost weight. I asked him about that. You guys brought that up and said that, you know, what's he think of Jordan Davis? He's lost weight. His lateral movement's getting better. And he's coming up with a second pass rush move. That's Clint working with him. Okay, look, no shade on my friend Tracy Rocker. Tracy's now the D-line coach with the Texans. He's a good coach. But I don't know, man. I mean, what's weird about that whole thing is that Rocker recruited both guys when he was the D-line coach at Georgia. Maybe he was too close to it. I don't know. Maybe he wasn't as hard. I find that hard to believe. Tracy Rocker's a pretty tough guy. But Fat Mac Philly, well, they were teammates of mine, dickhead. Name dropping, they're teammates of mine. And Clint, as you know, asked permission to wear my 93 at Miami. Name dropping. All you have to do is watch the show. And you see the people that come on the program. He's very proud of the Georgia guys. He thinks that Kobe and Nolan Smith are going to have great years. Good for him. Way to back his guys. He was asked what the impact was of Clint Hurt being a coordinator, coaching him. You know what he said? Identifying formations, identifying the tricks, splits. When he says formations, wrong side, weak side, brown set, red set, white set, when it comes to backfield motion. He's teaching these guys a little bit more because Clint's been a really successful defensive coordinator, and you're getting a little bit of that. It's kind of like cheating that you got 2 DCs on your football team right now. What an absolute gift that is, that you guys have 2 DCs on your football team that you can help develop your defensive tackles and defensive line. It's a great thing to have, man. I mean, you know, Vic and him must be thick as thieves in there, breaking shit down and looking at what stuff is. Not that Vic probably is sitting there but there's no question. He has to at least pick his brain, Clint Hurt's brain, about how he sees this. because they're running multiple fronts. You're going to be running multiple front. Get this. At times in the game, you may see this. They may slide the front, and the defensive backfield may go in a different complete direction, or vice versa. They may go same. They may go different. You're a quarterback, and you're looking at this. Then they go. Then actually, watch this. Hut. Then you got pre-snap. All of a sudden, those same check marks and those same landmarks that you had on pre-snap read on motion, you don't really know. You have to have a whole new mindset. Where's the new check? There it is. You're sacked. That's what Vic is trying to do to these quarterbacks. Boy, you better have a lot of communication, because you know why? Good quarterbacks, they will spot the weak link in that secondary and know there's no way he knows what he's being asked to do. So when you have a complex system like Vic does, where do you go for a safety? You go to Quinyon. And you're going to go, but Quinyon's one of our better athletes. That don't mean he's one of your better football players yet. Football player, like you said about Jalen and Lamar. Okay, there's two different things here. You could be the most gifted guy on the planet. Nobody would ever suggest that TJ Edwards is some gifted linebacker. He knows where to line up. He knows no false steps. He knows how to plug a hole. He knows to recognize when people are trying to come out of the backfield. There's a skill set to that. Okay? There's a skill set. I mean, Sills, Davis's issue is how he handles his business in season. Correct. He gets lazy. Typical for young players. He came into the camp last season in shape. His post-camp conditioning is not good enough to get him through the season. Absolutely. Okay? Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see here. Prince said, Sills, what I don't understand is we have better coaches who are pushing the team, but last season we had worse coaches and a harder schedule, yet performed better. So isn't this team better than the 23? Better prepared. Prince, better prepared, I would say, with less experience. Huff's got to be Reddick. Okay? Right? And once again, I'll say this. You're even less experienced today than you were in 23. Now, how about this, Prince? How about this? Do we both agree there's better problem solvers on the team this year, offensively and defensively, in case there is a disaster, that you won't have a slide like you did a year ago, and they're going to be problem solvers for your football team? I don't know what that is, but guys, believe me, going and getting free agents and how he's signing somebody doesn't fix it. Okay? It's a good question by JM. Here's my question. Were the coaches better in 22 than they are now? Well, you're asking now. This is an opinion, JM, because we know the result of 22, and here we are, August 20th, going into 24. Are they better? I think the systems were different. I think the experience on the team was different. And I think there was a lot of things that were new to it. And let's not forget something. Both coordinators were there the year previous. They're the only coaches that you have had for 2 seasons. Okay? I mean, Steichen and Gannon were there in 21 and 22. So they were in the building with an experienced football team. You had a lesser schedule, more experienced dudes, and the coaches had a good system. Hey, Jonathan Gannon basically is playing with less pressure Vic Fangio's defense. Vic Fangio's defense. Stills, I believe this team is better suited to handle the in-game adjustments that will be necessary. Last year, if the plan wasn't working, they were done. Yeah, they got problem solvers on the team now. Okay? Yeah, I mean, remember even Sirianni at the end of the year, what he said? Hey, if I knew how to fix it, I would. That's such a damning and indictment of a statement for a head coach. Let's do this. Sean McDermott, or not Sean McDermott. Yeah, Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott was having a hell of a time with Ken Dorsey, and they weren't moving the sticks in Buffalo. They were losing ball games. I think they fucking lost to the Jets, and they were not making it happen. What did McDermott do? He fired one of Josh Allen's favorite dudes, Ken Dorsey, who's now the OC in Cleveland. They brought in Joe Brady. Joe Brady goes in, they go on a 10-game win streak or wherever the thing was, and they turn the entire offense around. That's a problem solver. Here's another one. When the injuries hit San Francisco, you lost you lost Deebo Samuel, and you had Trent Williams out. They lost to Cleveland and a backup Cleveland quarterback. What'd they do? Held their water, got their healthy guys back. They kept their patience. Here's the things the Eagles didn't do. They didn't keep their patience. They fired a coach and a coordinator who had great success last year. Remember something. Sean Desai was fired at 10-2. He could walk around going like this. We were 10-2. We were 6th in run defense. We were 17th in pass defense. Yeah, we weren't where we wanted to be because we didn't have the pressure we were getting, but still. And he had beaten Mahomes. He had beaten Stafford. He had beaten Allen. He had beaten Dak. He had beaten Tua. He had beaten Cousins. Beat all them guys. Then they panicked. And they put Patricia in there, who is by far was exposed as a coach. Boy, if there's a guy that gravy trained Bill Belichick's career, it is Matt Patricia. Holy shit. He's worse than Charlie Weiss was. I can't believe how poor coach his assistant. The best coaches he's ever had in New England, in my opinion, were Brian Flores, Romeo Cornell, their O-line coach they had up there forever, Starnacki, maybe Josh McDaniels. Again, as a coordinator, not a head coach. The rest of those guys were bullshit. They were terrible. Okay, McDaniel's a really good OC. Head coach? No, it's over. Sills, do you still believe the Eagles won't win the East? You know what? 5573. I don't believe in your defense. Prove me wrong. You are an unbalanced football team. That's my opinion. But I back it up with the question marks you have. There's no question mark at receiver in Philly. There's no question marks in the O-line. There's no question marks really in the running back. There's no question marks really at the quarterback. You got question marks on every level on defense. Every level. Your front four, your back two, and your entire secondary. Well, Sills, drafting does not answer anything. It addresses a need. Fair enough. But you got to get out there and cover. Excuses for what? This is not an here. So I'm awake. Or you says that this is an excuse. Nolan Smith has never done shit in his entire NFL career. You got a coordinator who's talking about Bryce Huff saying over here that it's a work in progress and he can't play the run yet. We'll see. He's getting better. Linebackers, he's not real sold on any one of them. They're trying multiple combinations. You got James Bradbury on the football team for a reason because you're not sure about corner 2. You're not even sure where you're going to play Quinyon Mitchell yet. That's not excuses, kid. That's who you are. That's not an excuse, kid. That's who you are, dude. Whether you like that or not, I can't help you. I really can't help you on that. All right, guys, please hit the like button. My friends, don't forget, we are driven by BetUS. We got a brand new partnership right now with our good friends at BetUS here at JAKIB Sports. This football season is going to be absolutely off the chain, and we're so excited to be involved with BetUS. I mean, guys, 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. You also get that in crypto with 200%. Michael Vick loves the place. This is for you during this football season. And if you're looking for a new betting house for the upcoming season, BetUS is your place. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Guys, do me a favor. Check them out, please. Fastest payouts in the business. 24/7 personalized service. Live wagers on all major games. And if you want your own account executive, do me a favor. They will set that up for you. Just ask them. So go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. And do me a favor. Tell them Big Sil sent you.
Michael Vick at betus.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sports book and casino.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Show's National Football Show. Hey, JM, you must have forgotten that how many quarterbacks had massive percentage completions against that 2022 defense. It was one of the highest in the league. I think Derek Carr had a 90% completion percentage against us. Dak Prescott was like 90. Every quarterback had monster games against that Eagle defense when it came to completion percentage. Every team. So even the Saints guys had high completion percentages. Know what you're talking about. By the way, Tom Brady named his 5 best quarterbacks in pro football. 5, you got Aaron Rodgers. You know, the hatred for Aaron Rodgers is all stemmed from his lack of wanting to be vaccinated. Can you imagine that? Who cares he's an asshole? What is that to you, Colin Cowherd, or anyone else? I don't give a shit if he's an asshole. If he wins games and he plays like the way he plays, I'll take that every day. So you're telling me you'd rather play with Baker Mayfield than Aaron Rodgers because the guy's an asshole? You're out of your minds. Dude, NFL owners put rapists in locker rooms to win games. Get over yourselves. That's not the boys' choir. And the moment you get over that, you'll understand the league better. Nobody cares about that shit except the media and the bleeding heart media weirdos. He didn't get vaccinated. He was right. No one apologized to his ass. He was right. I mean, but they hate the guy. Phenomenal quarterback. Tom Brady put him 5th. Number 4, Joe Burrow, Bengals. Number 3, Lamar Jackson, Ravens. Number 2, Josh Allen. The GOAT calls Josh Allen the second best quarterback in pro football. And number 1, Mahomes. M. Reyes, he wasn't wrong. You're wrong. Go read the CDC website, dog. That was Tom Brady's list. Brady's got Josh Allen. Number 2, baby. Of course he does. Josh Allen's the second best talent in the league. Of course he does. Absolutely. Damn. Tom Brady, Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Burrow, and Rodgers. Tom Brady's top 5 quarterbacks in the National Football League. I like it. I want to get back to some of the players and what their comments are. By the way, Xander will join us at the bottom of the hour. One of my Hall of Fame voters from, I believe it's Yahoo now, yahoosports.com. It's going to be our friend Howard Balzer. We will talk to him, get his thoughts. By the way, he also covers the Arizona Cardinals. Take a look at what's going on out there with that football team, too. I think that football team, and Kyler Murray supposedly is having an absolutely insane camp. And Brady's list. Oh, okay. Yeah, Brady's list. Sills, love your show. Stay in the lane. You're a stone cold blockhead when it comes to civics and politics. Hey, Sam. Okay, so just shut up and dribble? Really? Hey, Sam, don't worry about it. Okay? Just because my politics don't fall in line with yours, don't worry about it, kid. We'll be friends. I don't hold you to that. because you don't like my politics. Whatever, guy. I don't tell you how to read a newspaper, and don't tell me how to read one. Are we good? All right. Let's see here. Eli is Brady's father. Yeah, well, he'll be debating whether to get into the Hall of Fame. Seals, where does he have Nick Foles all time? Hey, James Johnson, that's a good rip, my friend. That's a good rip. I like it. Very good. Okay. Here's one thing that this fucking guy says that I agree with. Politics suck. Let's just be honest. Totally. Completely true. It's disgusting. Jordan Davis was asked about Vic Fangio, and he goes like this. Man, he's direct and blunt. He don't care who he's talking to. Okay? He don't care where he's talking to you. Be prepared because it could be anywhere. I like that. I'll tell you what, man. This Cam Jurgens dude, he likes being behind the mic. That's all good. Okay? That's all good. He says that get this. This is really great, Jeff. Here's Jeff Stoutland at his best. Today, they did one-on-one drills. And Jordan Davis was lined up over Cam Jurgens, and he was bull rushing him, and he was doing all the things that he needed to do to prepare for the upcoming game against Green Bay. Doubtful he'll play Minnesota. So he said it was pretty intense. Why is that important? Well, you're not going to really be facing too many defensive tackles the size of Jordan Davis. Okay? With the hand strength and the ability to get off the box and shit like that. And what you do is, because he didn't play the position a year ago, I know that was his natural position at Nebraska. You're trying to pin the hand of him snapping the ball up. Trying to pin it. Okay? Does he get that? Because here's one thing I'm hearing. He doesn't snap the ball as fast as Jason Kelce does. Jason Kelce was just quick as shit with that thing. And he doesn't have the same velocity that he gets the ball up. So Jordan Davis was working on pinning Cam Jurgens' hand. Why is that important? Well, when you snap the ball, if you pin that guy's hand, you've got this free shoulder, and you swim with internal pressure right up the middle, and you can push him back, and he's off on his rocker. Rockers are like a rocking chair, and you're rocking him back and forth into the quarterback. It could actually hurt Hurts. It's how a quarterback gets his feet stepped on and shit like that. That's Stoutland and Clint Hurt working the center. And Jordan Davis getting work on being a guy who's going to have to pass rush and double teams. When you're a nose guard, be prepared, dog. You're going to get double teams. And you're going to be taking on sometimes 900 pounds of men. And you gotta fight your ass through that. I don't care if you're 350 pounds or 340 pounds loses to 900. And when you got three dudes blowing you off the ball like that, and you're 350, and you got NFL guys, it don't matter how much you weigh. Even when you're doing double teams, you got 700 pounds a guy versus 350 pounds. You lose unless you use proper technique. Okay? And it's really great work. That right there shows you the intensity of the work compared to a year ago. That's good. You're upping the volume of intensity and practices. That's teaching skill set stuff. Great. But then again, that's not a shocker. He also said that we're practicing more. We're doing more intensity drills. Phenomenal. Well, I'll tell you something. The Eagles don't want to admit it, but 2023, organizationally, they're doing shit way different this year. They may not want to admit it, and I kind of get it. because then they have to admit to being a mistake a year ago, not playing hard, the indecisiveness of the coordinators, all that bullshit. They don't want to answer it. So they're not going to answer this. This is why we listen to the players and not reporters here. Because the players are telling you every time they get in front of the mic, man, we're playing harder, practicing harder. There's more intensity. Dude, you don't really hear that from the reporters. You kind of do. John says it. Okay? But when you hear it from the players, boy, they have a passion about it. Man, we're really practicing hard. Okay, we're practicing just really hard here. That's why I like listening to the players. I like to make my transcript off of what they say. He said that Hurts and him are working every single day. What do you see? Why didn't you like that? Why did you like this? What are you seeing? And Jalen and him, they say, are constantly talking. They're spending a shitload of time together in watching film and watching blitzes and watching the blitz pickup. Cam Jurgens knows that right out of the gate. What do you think is going to happen with Green Bay, Atlanta, and then the Bucs? What do you think they're going to do? Todd Bowles is going to blitz. Green Bay is going to blitz. Okay? That's why the Eagles are working check down game. They're preparing for the blitz because they know it's coming. Like I said yesterday, it would not shock me if Saquon Barkley has 55 to 60 catches this year, 950 yards rushing, and 550 receiving, and about 15 total touchdowns for 1,500 total yards. This guy may get you 100 yards a game in total offense. That's impact. What other guy in your football team? You imagine if you have three guys in the conversation where you have AJ with 105, Devontae with maybe 90, and then you have another 100 from Saquon Barkley. Holy shit. You got 300 yards coming out of three different players coming out of your huddle. Name me a football team that can do that. I heard it was a back. I heard it wasn't crazy though. I heard Barkley hurt his back. Hey, tonight we got a special Birds 365. I'm sure John will have some of that on tonight on the latest on Barkley because I heard that he went down and it was more of a back issue that he had. I'm not hating that Cheese 1,700. That could be around right. I think it's going to come more in the passing game. Seals, it's funny. We give these quarterbacks all these compliments, but outside of Mahomes, all the others have no Super Bowls, and Rodgers only has one. So go figure. I pointed something else out to you, Ace. Almost every single one of them, including Jalen Hurts, is under 500 in the postseason. Burrow and Mahomes are the only quarterbacks in the top 10 highest paid guys that have a winning record. Now, think about this too. Average quarterbacks or really good quarterbacks are getting exceptional salaries in today. So the salaries sometimes blind who's really – Mahomes is the 11th highest paid player in the league at the quarterback position. I mean, I'm sure the Chiefs are going to rectify that. But I heard Barkley was hurt today. But it wasn't a knee, and I heard it was back. So we'll get more detailed on what that's going to look like. By the way, that guy gets hurt early in the season. Wow. Is that going to be a major crippling thing? Because at least one of the things that you can count on the last 2 years was 1,100 to 1,200 yards rushing and at least 10 touchdowns coming out of your running back position. You lose Barkley early, that is a disaster. Okay? Sue says Barkley will be fine. Well, you got a pretty good shot at it, Sue. Last 4 years, he's had 2 years on, 2 years off. So maybe this is a year he's on, and he's going to make it. Okay? So, hey, you got a 50-50 shot he's going to be okay. Since last year, the organization followed the NFL mantra, less is more. They learned that less gives you less. Hard to see a team physically kicking our ass like San Francisco did. Iron sharpens iron. I agree with that. That's why I really like what the Lions do. Lions are probably going to be fined this week again for excessive practices. That Dan Campbell gets after it, man. Talking to Chris Spielman, those guys just get after it. I mean, they practice their asses off. I wish we had the mentality of defense wins championships. Dude, Gabe, the mentality of the Philadelphia Eagle defense this year will be this. Hey, defense, I hope, is average. If you're average, you're going to go places. It's, again, you were below average. You were terrible. If you go from terrible to average, that's a massive upgrade. Dude, you're not going to be a top 10 defense. That's an opinion. But you're not going to be a top 10 defense. You don't have top 10 talent. Not that you have to have it at every level. That's not San Francisco. They've got star players at every level. Here's Cam again. He said this was interesting. He says he's going to be, and he wants to be what Kelsey was, a second and third level center. Well, if Cam Jurgens turns out to be a second and third level center, you're in the line of Mawai and Kelsey, and you'll be in Canton. Okay, you'll be in Canton. You don't see second level centers that much any longer. Watching Kelsey get out in the perimeter and then even get up on the DB sometimes, dude, those guys are long gone dudes. They're just long gone dudes, man. They're not around a lot. Those are do you understand the quickness of feet you have to have, the angled, understanding zone blocking, man protection, fan, all that? Do you have to understand also when you're a center like Kelsey, he must have absolutely studied every single position on the defensive side of the ball, knowing their requirements and what their techniques were, because he's always in position when you watch him on film. I've never put on a tape where I saw Jason Kelsey miss a block because of technique. I saw a guy whip his ass, which was rare, but I never saw him out of pocket on a technique. A blown blocking assignment, I don't think I ever saw that because he said it. I'm going to do Kellen Moore with Xander. Once again, before we bring Xander on, remember something, folks. You're in a process, like Vic says, of building your defense. 2 days ago, these are Vic Fangio's words himself. A reporter in the pit asked him, how good's your defense going to be? He's like, that's a question he asked me after week 10. Not on the 20th of August. Okay? Hey, and it's great to be, listen, sometimes I might beat you guys up too much for being optimistic. There's nothing wrong with that. But optimistic with some reality and not being delusional. Try not to sound like cowboy guys. Dak Prescott is compared to Aaron Rodgers, is got to be one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Aaron Rodgers will go down as one of the top 5 throwers of the football in the history of the sport. Incredible. 457 touchdowns and 117 INTs. Jalen threw 15 last year. I mean, all right. Doing a great job with Birds 365, guys. You guys are really doing a super job by tuning into that show. We're killing it here on JAKIB, and I can't thank you guys enough. Let's bring in Xander Krauss from Birds 365 with John McMullen. Great guys. How you doing, Big Z?
What's up, Big Sills? How you doing, brother?
All good. Where do you feel the team is right now, August 20th? How are you feeling going into the final exhibition game against Minnesota? Again, that game will probably be for the final 15 roster spots, maybe even the final 9 spots on the team. So it's still important, but not really to the importance of what the Packer game is. I would probably think they're starting their installments for Green Bay. Because remember, they got to take off early too to get down there, so they're probably starting.
Yeah, I think they're getting there a week early, probably, aren't they? Are they not doing that? Haven't other teams in the past that go international they go like a week early?
Yeah,
I don't know if the Eagles are doing that.
Yeah, I don't know what that plane flight is because I know from like New York to like London, it's like 7-8 hours. So I don't know what that is to go down there. So maybe they would take off on a Tuesday to get down there Wednesday to get acclimated because remember, they're playing Friday, not Sunday. So you're right.
Right.
They may take off that Monday. Where are you right now on August 20th?
Offense, I feel good about. I think Kellen Moore is the right guy. I think they got a great coordinator that runs a more pro-style offense, which is going to open up the ceiling for Jalen Hurts. I think the sky is the limit in terms of that if he can get the pro-style offense with Jalen Hurts. And defense, Big Sills, I got to be honest. I mean, I don't know if I'm eagle-colored glasses, but they seem to be they seem to be better than we thought they were going to be. I was thinking we were going to have to really grind to get to top 18. I think we're probably a top 18, top 15 off defense, and we'll have to grind to get to top 12 or 13. But I think we have the guys in the room. I think the cornerbacks have been more impressive this offseason than we thought. I think the defensive front is going to be better than we're thinking. I think Vic Fangio has showed he's going to be a good coordinator. So I feel a little bit better than I did before training camp, to be honest with you. I feel pretty good about the team.
See,
I don't know yet. I'm not sold. Like, the defense still has to show me it, but I was expecting them to be 25th.
You see, but for me, though, I see promise, which means to me you haven't done it. Yes. And that's where I'm at. So to me, giving something benefit of the doubt, I've seen too much. I'll tell you this too. There's going to be a guy here. Let's do this. There's going to be a guy on that football team, on that defensive side of the ball, who you're not expecting to be a star, who's going to have a fucking incredible year. And there's going to be a guy on that team that you thought was going to have a good year, who all of a sudden you went, damn, man, I thought that'd be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because there's so much youth over there. You really just don't know what you have and what guys' games are going to matriculate into the NFL. Look, you got question marks at corner 2. You're kind of sketchy at safety. Age at the right corner, CB1. The linebackers, again, some of you guys want to give them the benefit. I'm not saying you, Xander, but you want to give them the benefit. I completely am not. I want to see this thing. The edge rushers, I'm not buying it yet. The 2 tackles in the middle, I'm buying it more. And if you're going to play that 5 front, I'm buying Milton in there. And I'll tell you something else I'm buying. I'm buying Josh Sweat having a bounce-back year.
All right, so there's a little bit of your pass rush. I don't think we can make any assumptions about what this pass rush is going to be. Everybody's ripping me for saying that because where's the pass rush? We haven't seen the pass rush. So don't sit here and act like you've seen it either. We haven't seen it one way or the other. So let's wait for the games to be played before we say there's no pass rush. I believe the 5-man front is going to make it much easier for our pass rush. We might not have the most talented guys in the room, but Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter in the middle is a problem for any offensive line in the league. That's going to create lanes for Sweat and Huff to get home. That's my assumption. I'm not saying we have the most talented guys in the room, but to say the pass rush is non-existent on August 20th is a dumb comment. Just like it would be dumb to say we have a tremendous pass rush on August 20th as well. let's wait and see. I think Bryce Huff's going to be a little bit better than he's looked through camp. I think he has more of an upside as a player. You look at some of those numbers from last year, not to get too stat heavy because I'm not really a stat person, but that pass rush win rate that he had is very, very high, amongst the top in the league. He's third behind Myles Garrett, and I believe the second guy is either Bosa or Parsons, and then it's him, and then one of those guys is below him. So listen, he can get off a block. He can win in the pass rush. So let's see if he can do it. I agree, but to say it's non-existent, I think is dumb. And the offenses look great. I mean, they continue to light up practice. You hear the national media talking like, how does Jalen Hurts not have an interception in camp? He's not throwing the ball downfield. And then I hear over and over again that he completes 30-plus yard passes to A.J. Devontae. I've heard that almost every day. He is taking shots down the field.
It's stupid.
So,
It's stupid. It's stupid.
Yeah, it's a stupid comment. He's protecting the football better because he knows that he didn't do it properly last year or do it well enough.
And the receivers are doing a better job protecting the football.
For sure. I think Kellen's offense is a better offense for less turnovers. Sills, you talk about it all the time. When you throw outside the numbers all day long, you're going to get more turnovers because, one, it's harder to get the ball out there. And when you do it so much, you become predictable in offense. So I think we've corrected a lot of foundational issues on this team. The way the offense is played will help with the turnovers. That doesn't mean they're going to do it yet. And on defense, I think the five-man front, I think Vic Fangio as a coordinator showing he wants to play to his guys' strengths. I think those are advantages that, you're right, we have to wait and see how good these guys are. I agree with that, but I think we fixed the foundation. I think we've laid cement in some of the cracks in the foundation, and now we need, to use a Nick Sirianni reference, we need the flowers to bloom a little bit. You're right, though. We do have a lot of young guys. We do have a lot of unpolished guys, so we got to wait and see.
You're optimistic. You're optimistic about it.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
But I think there's reason for, even when I try and take off my eagle-colored glasses, which I get it. Some people think I won't be able to do it, but I can't. I do have an ability to be impartial. I think the team has a good opportunity to compete this year with the best in the league. Does that mean I think they're going to win the Super Bowl? No, I got to see it. Let's see it this year. But I think they're right there with the top teams in the league. You can run down any team in this league,
especially in the NFC.
AFC too, though. And if you do a show every single day about that team all through the offseason, there's always going to be things you find that they can be better at. That's the NFL. You don't have this isn't the Pro Bowl, where it's an all-pro team. There's going to be problems. I think our problems are manageable, and I think we have the right coaches in the room to accentuate the talents of the guys that are there. And I'm feeling pretty good. I am feeling good.
Arthur, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Dolphins' defense was in the 20s. I know the pass rush was in the upper 5, but I think they had a top 20 defense. So it wasn't like the defense was in the top 10. They weren't a top 10 defense. But hard to believe, if I'm not mistaken, Patriots were 7th, which is incredible there. So good stuff, Xander, there. Let's go here. One thing that they've been practicing a lot of, and this is Kellen Moore. They were asked a question today, zero blitz stuff. He said it's been a ton. And they said that they're doing a lot of that because, Xander, look at the first part of the schedule. Okay? Look at the first part of the schedule. They are in a position where that football team is going to be playing against guys who are going to blitz them. Todd Bowles is going to blitz his ass. Okay?
No You're doubt. Todd Bowles has been Jalen Hurts' kryptonite. Not fully, because we did get the win last year and Jalen looked good in that game, but Jalen Hurts has 2 playoff losses to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, one was with Tom Brady, in his first year. But Todd Bowles has been good against Jalen Hurts. So you bring up a good point that, he's going to have to be ready. I don't know much about that Packers defense. John McMullen's super high on that Saints defense. He thinks they have tremendous guys on that side of the ball. So you're right. I mean, look, the first 5 games there's no gimmies in there. That's for sure. You got the Packers, the Falcons, the Saints, the Bucks, and the Browns. Those are your first 5 games. You're definitely going to have to figure it out. But like we talked about before with the offense, I think this offense, the way that Kellen is setting it up, lends to a better opportunity for Jalen to be able to read the blitz and respond better to it, right? Like last year, you're kind of in a hybrid of like leaving the RPO, but not really. You still want to use Hurts's legs, but you never really like made the decision on what to do, and you were somewhere in the middle. And I think that makes it hard on Jalen Hurts. Also add in, like we've talked about, not a knock on Kelsey, but maybe Jalen wasn't fully comfortable not calling out the protection and not being that guy. And, I think we're in a position now where Jalen can kind of settle in, as more of a veteran player now. He's almost at that stage where he's a veteran on the football team. This will be his 4th year starting. And I think the offense is set up for him to kind of thrive more so in this system than it has been in the past. I'm actually going to make a bold prediction. I think Jalen Hurts in this year will be better than he was in 22. Whether that leads to a Super Bowl or not is not entirely
what's better
on that. I think he moves the ball better. I think he picks up blitzes better. I think he spreads the ball around. I think he uses his checkdowns a little bit better. I think he protects the football better. I think he knows where to go with the ball. I think he gets through his progressions a little bit quicker. He's been showing that in signs. So I think he's going to have his best year yet, statistically and on the field. Dart, I do not think it's correction. Dart says 5th year. Is it? I don't believe this is his 5th year starting.
It is his 5th year. Remember, in 20, he didn't play.
20, he didn't play. 21, he started. 22, he went to the Super Bowl. Last year, we got bounced at the end. This is his 4th year starting, his 5th year in the league.
Yeah.
So it's not his 5th year starting, Dart.
Oh no, not starting. No, 5th year in the league, right?
It's his 4th year starting as the franchise quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Absolutely. Does this bug you here when you hear Kellen have to dance around this? He was asked a question, and it was really politically answered by Kellen Moore. Howie and Nick are part of the process of the installations. And, we all have a nice situation. He goes, every place is different. I've been in places where things are different on how we do all our installs. What's Howie Roseman doing in an installment for an offensive game plan and for the way you're going to attack the Packers? What the fuck is he involved in that with?
Well, he didn't really insinuate that Howie was fully involved. I think
he used his name.
I know, but the thing about the Philadelphia Eagles organization, and you know this from covering this team for the last 4 years, this is not a team or an organization where the front office and the coaching staff are split. They are not two branches. This is one big bush, if that's what you want to call it. Howie, Nick, Jeff, everybody has a say. That's what they believe. It's kind of liberal in a way where they allow everybody can be part of it. And
boy, I hate that.
To it, but I don't like it either. That's not my favorite thing in the world, but that's what we have. And in a way, there are a lot of good things about that. We have a great GM in Philly in terms of building a roster year after year, especially in the last 4 to 5 years. So while Howie had to go through some downsides, while he had to go through some negative moments in his career, our franchise has been operating at a pretty high level from a general NFL consensus. We are not a losing organization. No. Now we need more Super Bowls. I get it. We only have one Super Bowl in 50 years. We haven't been great.
Finish the deal.
I'm just saying this has been the most optimized I've seen it. And you said, does it bother me? No, because I know it. I'm already past the bothersome stage because I know that's how we operate in Philly. You're never going to have a team where your coach does whatever he wants on the field. That's just not Philly. That's not Jeffrey Lurie. That's not Howie Roseman.
It seems that ever since Andy left, that's been the
no, because they gave that to Chip Kelly, and look at what he did.
Oh, yeah, they did. You're right.
I have said on this show in the summer before, I believe our owner is somewhat scarred by Chip Kelly, and his dependency on Howie Roseman isn't entirely on Howie. I believe he trusts Howie now, and he puts that burden on Howie because he wants to make sure he doesn't have that ever happen again. That's his safeguard. That's his safety net. And it might not be perfect, but at the end of the day, it's a better safety net than a lot of other teams. It could be worse, is my point.
Oh, by far. And again, but see, Xander, this is why when someone goes like this, says, why are you hard on them? I'm like, because they're so close.
I get why you don't like it.
They do everything right to a point. Like, you have to have one guy hey, dude, when you're in battle and you're going to storm the beaches at Normandy, the Eisenhower's fucking listen to anybody? We're going now. I mean, you got to have people, we got to have generals that have conviction, and nobody else matters.
No, you're right.
You've got to have somebody in the room that makes that call. And when you have you're asking the janitor what he thinks. I don't give a no, I'm not saying they do that, but
no, I know what you're saying.
You're asking everyone their opinion when I don't want everyone's opinion. I want 5 guys in the building. You know why the Patriots had one of the absolute lightest staffs of all the NFL? Most teams have about 30 guys. They had 12. You know why? He wanted everyone to feel engaged in what their jobs were, and he wanted people to be part of special teams. Linebacker coaches were the punt return and linebackers. Everyone was coaching every single moment, every single guy, and everyone on the team was being used. But that came from one dude. And I'm a believer in that, man. I saw one dude win 3 Super Bowls in Dallas. Okay? I mean, it's just the committee shit. It bugs me a little bit in how
look, I completely get it. And you know what? Part of me believes that you're right. I just think that this is the setup of our organization.
It is.
You can look at the way this team has been. And, Howie, I don't know the exact year of when Howie got back in power. I want to say it was like.
Well, he got in the building in 2000, but he stretched out.
But he was. Chip
stretched out over time. He had 2 stints as GM, current one, and he had one before. I think it was after Banner. There was a guy in the middle, Tannenbaum, I think, and then he got it after Tannenbaum.
So Chip Kelly was fired when? 2015, I believe?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think the end of 2015.
Yeah, and
right before the new year, I believe he was fired. Let me look it up. Yep, 2015, December 29th, right before the new year of 2016. So after that 15 season. So Howie's been in power 9 years, right? Again, fully in power, kind of. Look at the first, let's just break it up 5 years and 4 years. The last 4 years of Howie Roseman, everything has improved from his perspective versus the first 5 years that he took power. When he got Carson Wentz in 2016 and had control of the team, remember, we struggled getting receivers. We struggled getting cornerbacks. We had plenty of problems on that football team. Right now, this is probably the best roster we've had since what, 04? I mean, I think this could be the
this roster is better in 22.
Well, no, but that's the same era of Howie. There's going to be turnover.
So you're saying the last 5 years. This is the best.
The last 4 years of Howie Roseman
has been the best run of talent on a roster that you've had, probably. Maybe going back to Buddy.
Howie, we have been operating at a very high level as a team. We haven't won the Super Bowl. But this has been the best 4 years of Howie's career, which the optimistic point of view would be he's gotten better at his job. And, Forrest set it up here. I'll bring that comment up because it's so true. This is where we are with Jeffrey Lurie. Forrest Hill checks in. He says, Lurie at a point in his life where he's soon to retire. Howie is smart enough to not fuck things up bad. That's enough for Lurie. I believe there's more to that than we believe. Jeffrey Lurie knows as long as Howie is in that room, I know it's not going to be that bad. It's not going to be Chip Kelly. And I think that's enough for him. He wants to be a competitive, good football team.
Is that why he doesn't hire alpha male head coaches?
That's why he fired Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson wanted more say. Doug Peterson built the Super Bowl winning team with Howie Roseman. When he won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback, he rightfully so believed he deserved more decision-making in personnel and other things. They pushed back on it. That's just the philosophy of the team.
Here's something else that I took away from that. Jeff Stoutland is in total control of the run game installments. Like, Kellen has no say in this. That's my takeaway is that here it is. This is one of the reasons.
Well, Kellen's going to have some saying that. Come on.
He said the installments in the run game, out of his mouth, I heard him.
Yeah.
Say that
he should have some saying it. It's his offense. I mean, I love Jeff Stoutland, but coach the offensive lineman. I don't need you changing the run game.
So he's misquoted?
Well, no, I don't know. But remember, Kellen Moore is a political head coach, a political coach, not head
A
coach.
political wannabe head coach. Yes.
Wannabe head coach, but he is one of those guys. He toes the line.
I'll buy that.
John says all the time, we have Kellen.
I'll
You're
buy
not gonna
that.
get anything, So look,
He's going to
I don't
play
take
the
any
political
sense of
word game. He's going to play the political word salad.
By the way, JM, I would agree with this about Doug Peterson. He's not made the right decisions. But the point is about the Eagles and showing that they weren't going to give a guy like that power. But you are right. He's struggled with the coaching picks.
Yeah, and you're right about Kellen. He's going to play the word salad game because
that's Kellen, man. He's going to be that guy. Yeah.
Here's the difference between two guys right now wanting to be a head coach future and a coach not wanting to be. Vic doesn't have to have the word salad. Hey, we're not good right now. Hey, this kid's a project right now. Hey, this kid's got this and that. And where you're going to get Kellen's going to go, hey, yeah, me, Vic, and Howie and all these guys, because he knows that's how you get a job in the league. You got to involve everybody in the conversation for you to get a head coaching job.
Yeah.
He's playing the game, and he's
got
right.
to play the game, Sills. It's there.
No, you know what? I hate it, but you're right.
Look, it's every industry. You can look at all the great watchers we have in here today. Every single one of them in some form has to play a game. Me and you have to play a game. Everybody is playing a game. The NFL is a bigger game.
Oh, yeah.
And it's more political than ever. So that's what Kellen Moore is. That's why you're like, are you surprised he said this? I'm like, no, I don't take anything from his press conferences.
Okay, check this out here. What's this game? Can you imagine the shit Sills would talk if the Eagles lose? Have you ever heard me, Lord Vaughn, bring a score up in preseason football in 4 years? That would be never. I never quote a score.
That right there is a guy that listens for 10 minutes, picks out what he wants. Chooses what he hears and leaves and doesn't have any understanding.
I've never quoted a score or a won or loss in my life in preseason. I talk about the work and the quality reps you get. I have never even brought up yards or time of possession or any of that because it really doesn't matter. Okay. I've never brought a score up. Of course you did. Of course, right. Right. Because when's the last time you heard me bring a score up? Anyway, how about this one? I thought this was awesome. And it just shows you how complex Kellen Moore's offense is, dude. He was asked about motion. He goes, hey, some of it's eye candy. Some of it's going to be misinformation. We got to use it when we can, when it comes to identifying what the defense is trying to do to us. This guy is really, with a complex motion type offense, really has this thing Xander, this book must look like a Tokyo phone book. I mean, this thing has got to be 1,000 pages deep because for you to be able to walk to the line of scrimmage and know that you're just going to go out there and this is going to be decoy shit on motion just to get the defense to move. And just to get them to move, and you already know pre-snap where you're going with the ball, that leads to the defense not knowing what motion really is. Is this real motion? Is this not? Are they really trying to get a guy open? What are they doing here? So sometimes you may see motion one time, Xander, and you're going to recognize it as, okay, they want to come in the seam here. All of a sudden they don't. They throw a flare pattern. Then you turn around and you come back, you see the same thing. They go to the seam. It's hard as shit to defend when you are just using this. This is why when John McMullen says motion doesn't matter, bro, what you're doing is you are setting the defense up for shit and putting them on their heels every play when you use that.
No doubt. I love the motion. I think it's going to be a great, and that's one of my most excited parts about Kellen Moore is that he's going to get different looks. This is going to be much different than it looked for us last year. But let me play the contrarian real quick on the question and tell you at least the point of view. I'm paraphrasing, but John McMullen's rebuttal to that, and I think it's a good one. I think it's worth noting, right? I get it matters, but his point was they had the Philadelphia Eagles had the greatest run in their franchise's history, winning 29 out of 32 football games, and they were bottom 5 in motion.
Okay. Lee caught up with him last year too.
Right. That would be my take too, as well, where you have to evolve and change.
Right.
But his point was just that
it was
motion
short-lived.
matters, but it's not.
But it was short-lived. It was short-lived.
Yeah, well, 32 games isn't short-lived, I wouldn't say, but it's
without a Super Bowl. I mean, okay, I get it. You won a lot of games, but at the end of the day, okay, you fell apart completely at the end because everyone was sitting at home eating Fritos, calling your plays out. I mean,
yeah, I mean, look, like you said, though, the Tokyo phone book, it makes sense why Jalen said what he said after minicamp, right? This thing is tough, man. I'm learning a lot of shit right now with this offense, and I still don't feel like I've made a dent in it. You know, I think Jalen's been heading that playbook. I think he's been studying it, and I think he's taking control of this offense. So you're right. I'm more on your side with motion, where I believe it's instrumental, and I believe you need it in today's game, especially when you have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts. So I think they're going to use it. I think they're going to use it well. I'm excited for Kellen Moore. I think he's going to be really good with this offense.
Somebody put a comment up here that Sileo said that Mahomes was the greatest quarterback after a preseason game. No, he was the greatest quarterback that he's won 3 Super Bowls, and he's going for a 3rd one in a row. And he's a 2-time MVP, not because he threw a behind-the-back pass, you dickhead. Here's another one here. Philly 500. He's right here. Howie has flexibility to make mistakes, though. He does. Many GMs couldn't survive some of the mistakes, but but he's given a chance to fix those mistakes. But Philly, there's 2 things to your point here with that. You know what that is? He does get the chance to fix them, but when he fixes them with free agents, or he fixes them with trades. Which means this.
Well, what do you care how he fixes them, dude?
Because it's the reason your defense is in the fucking shape it's in.
Yeah, but the defense.
Here's why.
I'll say it again. The last 4 years, Howie prioritized the offense first.
When you have to spend $75 million on a player that you drafted earlier in Rager, and you could have had that guy for $1 million for 3 years, that money's appropriated across the board to a balanced roster. Instead, you've got to go get a $15, $18 million edge rusher. You've got to go get a $25 million wide receiver. You got to go get an $11 million corner. You got to get another $11 million corner. When you make mistakes like that, you lose the rookie equity of deals to build your roster appropriately across the line. That's what they did in Detroit. Look at what they did with Stafford. They sent Stafford to Los Angeles. Every fucking one of those deals Brad Holmes made has hit. And they've built a better roster than LA right now. I mean, you lose that equity when you make the mistake. Now, to Jeffrey Lloyd's credit, he don't care. Okay? And kudos to him, because Howie is, like Philly said, Howie's given that ability to go.
Yeah, but he's also earned the right to be able to fix his mistakes. And he's done it well. Now, to your point about the rookies and the decision and the mistakes, it's death, taxes, and a GM making a mistake. It's going to happen. So how he fixes it, I don't really care. I think you're underestimating his ability to bend the cap. Howie is that's his.
He doesn't bend it on that side of the ball at all.
I know, but he in the past, you're mad that he paid AJ versus having Jalen Reagor. Just get the good guy. No. Howie has shown that no matter what these guys are making, he's going to get it under the cap. Jalen Hurts doesn't have a big cap hit over $35 million until 2027.
You are under the impression that you have a great roster, and you don't.
No, but the defense is a couple years behind the offense. Sales Jordan Davis,
Jalen
Carter, Kenyon Mitchell, Kobe Dean, Milton Williams. These are Josh Sweat. Bryce Huff is a free agent. All the other guys I named.
The money that you didn't pay for TJ Edwards went to the offensive side of the ball.
It was $7 million, though. We have $20 million plus left this year.
That's $7 million. That guy is an integral.
But you're just assuming that $7 million went to the offense. We always had more room.
He didn't want to pay the 20 either for Hargrave.
It's not because he paid somebody else.
Jesus, are you really thinking that they spend anything on that side of the ball?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that them signing guys on offense is not the reason they haven't done that.
It's totally the reason.
He has $20 million left to cap space.
Why don't they spend the money?
Exactly. The money's there. It's not, AJ's being paid so we can't pay a defensive guy. He's letting his draft picks develop right now. The defense is a couple years back from where the offense is.
You see, you're still not getting what I'm saying when you miss on a player.
I understand what you're saying.
You're missing 3 years of money that you can appropriate to linebackers. This is exactly what the Bears
but
did.
that's not the reason why he didn't go to
Bears
linebacker.
sent Roquan Smith to the Baltimore Ravens because they didn't want to spend 20. You know what they did? They turned around and spent 100 on 3 of them. Because they wanted to spread it around.
But you're only right if that's the reason that Howie didn't pay those guys. And that's not the reason.
How do you know that?
Because we've had cap space every single year. You can make the argument, yes, Howie should prioritize those positions more. I would agree. But it's not because we paid AJ Brown or we didn't pay TJ Edwards that they didn't sign.
Why don't you pay money for your edge rushers? You just moved the money.
Signed Bryce Huff to a $51 million deal.
No, you didn't. You slid the money over from Reddick, and he has his salary now. It's just tit for tat what you did there. You didn't really upgrade.
Big money to an edge rusher. It's not like
you're paying him like $15
2 first-round draft picks on defensive tackles. Sills.
Jesus criminy, man! You have the reason you're in the shape you're in is because of all the cash that you spend on one side of the ball, and that's why that defense will be a revolving door, and it will continue to be a revolving door until this. Jalen Carter. Now, look, this is the upside of this conversation. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, Eli Ricks, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. You're looking at the other guy, Reed Blankenship.
That's quite a bit of draft picks, man.
But wait.
Point.
Well, if they pan out
a couple years back.
That's right. We're talking about a defense 25-26, not 24.
Well, yeah, and that's where you got to fill in the blanks for the time being, just like they did on offense the last couple of years. The offense is now built. The defense is going to be built in a couple of years. I don't think it's a bad defense right now. You do have to wait for the guys to reach the potential. But if you talk to me about the offense before the 2022 season, you would have said the same thing. You would have said Jalen Hurts isn't proven, Devontae Smith's not proven, Landon Dickerson's not proven, Cam Jurgens isn't proven. Jordan Mailata might not have even been proven at the time. I think he was still fighting with Andre Dillard for the job.
What's the point? What are you telling me? You're trying to tell me that all the equity that you guys drafted and all the first.
I don't disagree with you. All I'm saying is the defense is three years right now back from the offense. To say that he hasn't invested on defense outside of free agents is wrong. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Milton Williams, Nakobe Dean, the edge rusher Josh Sweat. He's got guys on the back end. I mean,
we're talking about a defense that imploded. You're making it sound like these guys.
That's the whole argument of the offseason.
You guys are making it. You're trying to make it sound like these guys are a top 5 defense.
No, I'm not. I think we're now conflating two different things. They still have to play good enough, but I'm challenging your notion that because they paid AJ Brown, they didn't pay the defense. I don't believe that to be true.
It's common knowledge to know when you pay a player because you miss on them and you have to go into free agency, you lose that equity of the free agent of the rookie money, where instead of using that $75 million over 3 years, what do you think you could have done with that $75 million over 3 years?
I hear what you're saying. I just think it's a little bit of a moot point because Howie knows how to manipulate the cap. You say that that's his forte. So I agree he hasn't invested the money needed. I agree he should have signed TJ Edwards. I agree. But the reason he didn't sign those guys wasn't because we were stretched on money.
Okay. We'll agree to disagree. How about this one here? Trevor Keegan was asked by Kellen Moore. Boy, I'll tell you what, listen to this. He goes, he does such a good job. You don't really even notice him. And, that's a good thing. He's played what?
Yeah, he got injured today. I don't know. I don't think it's serious, but he didn't finish practice today.
Yeah. Damn, because they said that he got a ton of practice. And
I just popped your balloon with where you were going.
Man, he
was
really
look, I don't think
on
it's serious. I'll get the update from John tonight on our nightcap edition of Birds 365 tonight. I don't think it's serious, but I'll just say that. I just wanted to put that out there that he did leave practice there. I think he's going to be all right. I'm very intrigued by him. So I was saying how excited I was for this guy, and John, which I'm okay with, because you do have to be objective about a 5th-round pick. But John's like, listen, pump the brakes over there. We didn't draft an all-pro tackle. He's a 5th-rounder or guard. Let him develop. This guy looks like he's going to be legit in this league. I loved him when we drafted him. I loved him when I looked at the highlights. He's a 3-year captain of a national championship football team in Michigan.
And he's playing well.
And he's playing well now. Here's the biggest thing you can take away, right? Because we haven't seen any games. We're going off of practices and a couple preseason. It's not really the greatest sample size of football. But the one thing I'll say about him, and you can also say this about Quinyon Mitchell, they look like they belong.
Yes.
They don't look out of place.
No.
Right? They look like they can be a part of this league and have a career. And I think that's the best thing you can ask for on August 20th when you're talking about a rookie. But it's a great thing. You said it a couple shows ago or maybe last week. I think he's going to be the guard of the future. I do
too. I think he might be even the guard next year.
Yeah, because Mekhi Becton's on a 1-year deal. Is he going to take money? Are the Eagles going to pay him big money to be a guard, or is he going to go and leave and get big money to be a tackle somewhere? I don't. That's a fluid situation. We'll see there. But I think Howie would probably be if Keegan keeps showing what he's showing, I think they're going to go to him next year. I really do.
I would totally bet on that there. By the way, Xander, you got a couple more in you there?
Yeah, I'm good, brother. I'm good. I'm all good.
You got it there. Again, and I'm going to make that bet that Trevor Keegan is going to be that right guard next year. Speaking of Bet US, folks. I mean, if you guys are looking for a brand new wagering house, and our great relationship now with Bet US is here with JAKIB Sports. We're so proud to be able to say this. Up to 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits, up to $2,000. Also, crypto, 200%. How about that? Home of Michael Vick. Guys, this is the place for you. This is where we're going to be operating. Is BetUS. BetUS.com.pa. That's BetUS.com.pa. Fastest payouts in the business. 24/7 personalized service. Live wagering on all major football games. All major games, by the way. Everything. BetUS.com.pa. That's BetUS.com.pa. And do me a favor. Tell them Big Sil sent you.
I'll be back in 15 seconds.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
Welcome back. Appreciate you guys hanging in there. Just a couple more. One of the things that Kellen Moore said, Xander, that to me shows you the growth of Jalen Hurts. I think this line here, and I underlined this thing, and I mean, he was asked the question, how do you know that a quarterback is getting it and understands the system that he's in? He said this, by pace of game. And what he means by that is when the play comes in, and you look up at the 25-second clock, the shot clock, and that player gets that play off in a timely manner. Remember how he likes to talk clean operation? When the quarterback is doing that, that means there's a rhythm to it, and there becomes a rhythm. He says that Jalen Hurts is in that rhythm right now, and he's having a really good understanding of what's going on. I'll tell you what he's done too, dude. There's no question that from the OTAs and the minicamp, this fucker has done a ton of work.
No doubt about it.
I mean, he has done this guy went to class and went to school because he's done a lot of work on this.
Yeah, I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a big year, man. And you're right, by the way, to that point. It's actually maybe one of the things you could argue. I'm not going to say it's a negative. I'm just going to say it's one of those things that you want to keep your eye on is how the offense is handling. Like we talked about motion a little bit ago. This team isn't used to doing that, so you have a lot more things to get done in that play clock that you're talking about. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how Hurts handles that. But it was a good comment from Kellen. But like I said, just like I'm not going to take anything from the bad, I'm not really going to take anything from the good either. I just think it's a great thing to know that you have a quarterback that's making top money that is working his ass off. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all Philly fans. We're Philly people. That's all we really want. I mean, look, we want Super Bowls and everything, but we want to know you gave it your very best. That's what I want, at least. I'd love to win a Super Bowl, but you're not going to get that every year. What I don't want is a guy like Kyler Murray, where you got to pay him $50 million and put a clause in his contract. Hey, you must do this and you must work out. When I think about Jalen Hurts, I don't think about any of those issues. You might have your on-field issues. You might question whether he can handle the blitz. You don't question anything with Jalen Hurts about that. And that goes back to the intangible stuff that we talked about, way back right before he got paid, when everybody was saying, oh, too many intangible talk. Well, now that he's shown that he's a good player, it does matter. It does mean something. And I'm excited to see what he can do this year. I think he's going to have a big year in this offense. I think he's got all the weapons around him to do it. I think he's got the right coordinator, and I think it's going to be a huge year for him in this offense. I really do.
Tell you what, Xander, I never thought that, today you have to give people kudos for doing what is right and expected of you, but it doesn't. I mean, look, like you said,
I think he goes the extra step, though, Sills. I really do. I think you have a league of, however many players. How many players are in the league right now? A couple
1,600, 1,700.
1,600, 70. I mean, I think there's, call it 1%, the 1%ers that work beyond the other ones. And I think we have a guy who might be the 1% of the 1% who works like that, who cares like that, who focuses like that. It's his life. And you can tell he dedicates so much time. Actually, and this is just an opinion or a guess by me, maybe a hypothesis you could call it. I think last year, Hurts got so big on everything outside of football. I almost think he didn't like it. Your age. Remember, this isn't all.
Remember Boomer Esiason saying, "Learn how to play with your contract."
But also the endorsement deal, and I'm not knocking him for taking it. I just think, in a way, Jalen was like, "This isn't me, and I got to get back to doing what I do." And remember the agent stuff and stuff down here. Everybody wants to make you the spokesperson. Like, that's tough to handle.
Remember what people were saying too, that the team was kind of like keeping him at distance, and there was not as accessible as the year before.
Right.
I think maybe even the organization even learned.
I agree. I agree. And I think this is a position where I think he's back to, you kind of see it in his body language. He's comfortable out there. He looks like he's connecting with this guy. He just looks like the Jalen of the past, where, he knows what he cares about and he focuses on what he cares about. And that's a good thing. So I think he's in a good spot right now. I think we're in a good spot with him. I think the offense is in a good spot, and he's clearly shown that he's doing the work. So let's see if we get the results, but I think he's done the work, and that's good. That's good. I'm happy with that.
Real quick here, just a last one here. It looks like the Eagles have received a ton of calls for Kenny Pickett. Okay, now it makes sense.
Another half for another son. We don't need him.
I mean, well, I think that's the reason why, because even Kellen Moore was asked a question about number 2, and he danced around it politically like he should.
I think people making too much of this crap, man. I think partly, especially in Philly, the Nick Foles thing. Like, I get it; it was an amazing story. I love it, but bro, your QB2 it matters, but 99% of the time,
I'm talking just for a trade. I'm not talking about battling.
No, I know, but I'm saying that's why people like John McMullen's they're not going to trade Pickett. I'm like, why?
Why?
If Tanner McKay looks half decent, half a Kenny Pickett, then keep him and trade Pickett. Who cares? 99% of the time, if you lose,
I would never make anything over Pickett.
I know, but I'm saying that's been the consensus, even on the Tanner McKee talk, right? Was the Eagles value the QB2. They're not going to trade. I'm like, I don't subscribe to that at all, man. 99% of the time, if you lose QB1, your season done. Is over.
Right. You're finished.
I'm not going to sit here and leave draft capital on the table for Kenny Pickett.
Right. Somebody offers me a 3 Kenny Pickett, I'll help pack.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. I mean,
that's not happening.
I don't know if they're getting offered a 3, by the way, but I just wanted to sound off that I think people care a little bit too much about the backup, because I think it's an anomaly what happened with Nick Foles. I don't think that's happening.
Dude, he's a dude. He's a dude. Where are we on the like?
Yeah, but that's what people will say. Nick Foles was a dude too. Yeah, but
Nick Foles was a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, but he was an exception.
I got it. He had the weirdest career of ever.
I know.
Just a weird career. I mean, dude, I've never seen a guy who's a Pro Bowler, 26 touchdowns, 2 picks, Super Bowl MVP. The fucking thing is ridiculous. 158, guys. Thank you so much. That's really cool. Xander, so you're doing a special Birds 365 tonight, right?
Yeah, baby. Nightcap tonight on Birds 365. I'll get Johnny Mack up He was our down there. He'll be
Find out about Barkley too, because it seemed that he had some issues out there today.
Yeah, I'm going to get the full injury update. I'll get what looked good at practice, and then I'll get John. John and I are going to do our initial 53-man roster projection tonight. So it's coming out in a week. So, but I just want to get, have John kind of put his first on there. It won't be his final because I know they do like a beat reporters all submit one and they see who wins. But I want to get John's gauge on where he's feeling this roster is. I think there's a lot of guys at the bottom of the roster that are interesting. A lot of different positions where it's like, how many do they keep? Will they cut there? So it'll be interesting to see what they do. And that's what we'll do tonight on Birds 365.
Very good. That's right after us, guys. Please hit the like button. Don't forget also Howard Balzer, NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame voter, will join us at the bottom of the hour. Hit the like button. Thank you, Xander. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sills. Appreciate it, brother.
You got it. Great debate today, guys. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sports book and casino.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. We just had an addition added to the program. The legendary Warren Moon will join us at 5:30 Eastern Time, and we will talk to our friend. We're going to talk to Howard Balzer here at the bottom of the hour here. Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's a voter. We'll ask him a little bit more about Eric Allen, too. So we're kind of doing a little bit of producing here on the fly here. So Warren Moon will join us at 5:30 Eastern, Hall of Famer. He's in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. He is in the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's in the California Hall of Fame, one of the truly greatest quarterbacks ever to play in the NFL. And we will have him with us at 5:30 Eastern time. So absolutely fantastic there. So look forward to that. So let me answer Warren here. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, cool. So yeah, all good. So we're going to be working on that there. Apologize that, guys. It just work good. All right. So going to get Howard here at the bottom of the hour here in a second. I love some of the things, some of the other comments before we end up getting on. Will Shipley talked. Guys, please hit the like button. Will Shipley talked. And listening to him, I like listening to him. You know, he was asked about building confidence in camp. He's like, one thing is for sure, that every time I get out there on a football field, it's such a privilege to be out there. And I'm learning every single time I step on the field. I'm learning every single time I step on the field. Barkley's been a real asset to him too. He says he wants to exhibit his toughness. And he wants to go through the process of toughness. I like this kid. You're talking about one of the guys that without a doubt has been a surprise, him and isn't it funny? The two Clemson guys have been absolutely a surprise. I think Shipley too could be a gem too, Josh. Okay, I do. Okay, I do. I think he could be. I like what I'm seeing so far. He said the one thing that he's been working on excessively is pass protection. And that he said that it's complex because the defensive guys are, without a doubt, some of the most complex defensive people when they're called to putting these schemes in. He says when you go against a Vic Fangio system and you're going against the guys that you're going to have to block in the blocking schemes, he says they're some of the most complex things he's ever seen. This is what really keeps guys off the field. This is what kept Rashad Penny off the field. Rashad Penny was not very good at pass protection. And this is why that Chris Carson kid in Seattle used to always beat him out, because he was better in pass probe. So, this is essential. If he wants to play, he's got to be in a position where he can pass protect. Looks like Barkley's their best pass protecting back. Are we really worried about the Commanders? Oh, I was. Hey, James. James, did you see it? Jaden Daniels got the start, baby. He got the start. He's starting. That's my boy, man. Yes, sir. I think Jaden. Hey, I'll make a. Hey, James. Jaden Daniels wins the NFL Rookie of the Year award. Remember, I said it. He wins the NFL Rookie of the Year award. Sil's not a fan. Been in the huddle before. Hit the like button. Thank you very much, Wayne. Appreciate it. Sills, pass protection is want to. Absolutely. Absolutely true. You've got to want it. You've got to want it. Let's see here. Absolutely. I think I really like the kid. Blitz protection. I don't know how much he's going to play. I really don't know how much he's going to play, but I think you're seeing something here where you're going to get yourself an opportunity, getting yourself a gem here. I do, man. Jack, remember I said it. Washington Commanders. They win the NFC East. Remember I said it. Jaden Daniels is going to be the rookie of the year. These are my bold predictions. Absolutely, man. I got to tell you something. I haven't talked to my friend Howard Balzer in a long time. Guys, you know, I always love to give you guys a little history lesson when it comes to Howard Balzer. Get this. He's been all over the map. He's covered the National Football League forever. And he had to work with maybe one of the toughest people I've ever known in Paul Zimmerman. Let me tell you something. When you call Howard Balzer, Howard's like, hey, you know, if I have time, Sills. You call Paul Zimmerman, he interviews you so that he's sure he's not going on with an idiot. And he started at the beginning of ESPN. Tim Brando just reminded me, and I sent him a text. I go, hey, I'm having Howard Balzer on. He's like, oh, my God, make sure you tell him Tim Brando says hi. And those guys were at the forefront of ESPN back in the day. And he's a Hall of Fame voter still to this day. I always have conversations with him about the Hall and about the league. And we'll talk a little bit about, I think the Arizona Cardinals might be something this year. I don't know what that B is, but we shall see. Let's bring in Pro Football Hall of Fame voter, our friend, Howard Balzer. Been friends for a long time. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, doing well. I thought you'd forgotten about me, man.
No way. Never. How about this? Well, anytime you bring up Paul Zimmerman, you have to do some reverence with it. Man, hey, my wife used to produce for my show, and every time we called him, Howard, boy, you could be undressed in a second, and you don't know what Paul was going to do, but one of the truly legendary guys, and I know that you worked with him, man. I mean, what a phenomenal guy he was.
Incredible. But I got to tell you one quick Paul Zimmerman story. I started working at the Sporting News in 1978. And it was just doing their books and their statistical books and all those things. And the next year, I started doing a weekly, call it column, whatever you want. They gave me a page that was called, I think it was called Inside Slant, if I recall correctly. And it was just a compilation of notes and things that were going on. And I had approached the managing editor saying I thought, because of course the Sporting News was the baseball Bible. And I approached him and said, we should be doing more about the NFL, especially in the off season when there wasn't that much news to find out there. No internet or any of those things. You didn't have free agency. And so the managing editor at the time, a guy named Lowell Reidenbaugh, said to me, well, that's not a bad idea. Who could we get to do that? Because at the Sporting News, we employed mostly all the people in the office did a bunch of things, but most of the time we used writers from papers from around the country. So I said, well, boldly, as a 27-year-old, quote, kid, right? I said, well, I could. And he says, okay, just like that. And that's what started it in 1979. Now we fast forward to the following, I think it was the following year, 1980. And I'm going to my first Super Bowl. And I've been doing the column now for about whatever it would have been, a year and a half, whatever it might be. And because it's the Sporting News, I'm in the main press box. And I'm like a kid in a candy store. And all of a sudden, Paul Zimmerman approaches me, right? And he says, you're Howard Balzer? And I said, yeah. And so he says, I just want to tell you, I really enjoy what you're doing. And I'm suggesting to Sports Illustrated that they do something similar. And I said, whoa, that's pretty cool. What I probably should have said is, well, if they agree to it, I might be interested. Right? Well, they went forward with it. And the first person they hired to do their notes and things like that was Jill Lieber, right?
Yep.
And then I don't remember how long she was there, maybe a couple, 3 years. And you know the next person was who they got to come in and do it? Peter King.
Peter King. That's right. Peter King came in.
So that was Paul Zimmerman. When he said that, I said, okay, I must be, maybe I'm on the right track here.
Absolutely, man. I just love the history that you've been around the league here. And let me bring you to present here. I'm going to ask you this one more time here about Jalen Hurts. When you think of elite quarterbacks in the National Football League, is he in that conversation?
I think he's in the conversation. I think to really be a true elite, you have to do it for a little bit longer time. obviously, and that, I mean, we've seen guys come in and have 1 or 2 great years, and all of a sudden it doesn't go right after that. Many times not any fault of their own. Sometimes it's just the team around them and things like that. Obviously, he was tremendously on that path after the Super Bowl year, and then last year when, what were they, 10-1 before the bottom fell out in the last part of the season. So, but he's got excellent talent around him with the receivers, and now adding Saquon Barkley. All quarterbacks need that. All quarterbacks have to have that supporting cast, and especially on the offensive line. I'm going to be very curious how the Eagles play without Jason Kelce, but that line has been a huge part of why they've been successful the last few seasons. But I think he has the ability. He certainly, with all the different things he can do. But I think, like I said, I think it needs more than, we're such a put a label on a guy society, and we want to label guys very quickly. And if they don't do well in the first 2 years, they're a bust. If all of a sudden they do well, oh my goodness, they're among the elite. So I think he has a chance to be among the elite in the league right now. He's still one of the best. I really believe that. But you got to keep going out there day after day, season after season, and getting it done.
Howard, is my thinking flawed, or is it, again, because you can't fault the kid? I mean, personally, I think he's a product of his huddle, just like Purdy's a product of his huddle with all the talent that you have around him. By the way, there's nothing wrong with going to good teams for, organizations putting good players. I wish more teams did that. However, when I look at Lamar, that 1,000-yard receiver a year ago, that 1,000-yard rusher a year ago, outside of himself, and he wins 14 games in home field. And then you take a look at Mahomes. There's nobody had 900 yards on that team in receiving. You have Kelce, but you have him. You look at even Green Bay. Green Bay's got a bunch of good dudes. They get rid of Devontae Adams, and they got a lot of young guys, but they got an emerging quarterback here in Jordan Love. I like quarterbacks that can carry a huddle, not huddles carrying a quarterback. Am I flawed when I say that?
I don't think you're flawed at all. And I think that I read a great story on Brock Purdy, for example, a few weeks ago that talked more about what he had accomplished at Iowa State. And Matt Campbell, who was his head coach there, had some great things to say about him. And it was beyond just all the physical stuff and all that, because you look at him and you say, oh, that guy's not going to be a good quarterback. But he just has that it about him that can get plays done, knows, makes the right decisions, all those things, and just finds a way to win games. And he wasn't that noticed. And, Iowa State wasn't that good when he was there, but he still played very good football. And, everyone says, well, he couldn't have been that good. He was the last pick in the draft. Well, sometimes that happens with quarterbacks. I mean, heck, Tom Brady was 199 overall.
Right.
So I do think that is those intangibles, those things with a quarterback are really what's important. I mean, it's not piling up yards a lot of times, but it's making that key third down play, making that key red zone play, making plays in the fourth quarter. I mean, I think we forget sometimes, Dan, that this league, well, it's always about finishing, right? Any sport, it's about finishing. But in the NFL, it's, finishing games in the fourth quarter, whoever you are. And when you have about generally 55% of the games in the NFL are decided by one score or less. Well, one score, yeah. 3
points. 3 points.
Exactly. And about 75% of the games on a regular basis are one-score games at one point in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So the teams that find ways to win those games and the quarterbacks that contribute to that, and certainly defense adds into it also, but the teams that find ways to win those games, as opposed to the teams that sometimes seem to find ways to lose them, those are the ones that are successful. And a quarterback obviously is a big part of that.
When I bring this guy's name up all the time, it almost gags me, because when he first started his career, I was a complete hater of the guy, and I thought he was the biggest bust in the game, and that's Jared Goff. And then I look up and I go, gee, 6 years this guy's thrown for over 4,300 yards. He's got 30 touchdowns. He's been to 2 conference title games with 2 different teams. He's gone to a Super Bowl. He's won a conference championship, and everyone keeps telling me how good Dak is in this, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. The second most accomplished quarterback in the NFC just might be Jared Goff. I mean, Why when I look at him, I go, no, he's not as well. Maybe he is. Well, wait, his resume almost doesn't look like he should be one of those elite guys, but he's got an elite resume.
Sometimes, Dan, you use the word, you look at them, right? And there's some guys that you say, oh, they look like they look like a player. They look like a great player. Yeah, they look the part. He kind of doesn't, just like Brock Purdy doesn't. But I mean, here's a guy that when he was, let's remember, I'm trying to remember now. He was the first overall pick in the draft.
First overall, right? Wentz was 2.
Right. First overall pick in the draft, right? Helps the Rams get to a Super Bowl, and they lost it to the Patriots. That's nothing against anybody.
14-3.
14-3, right? The offense couldn't get going, but they had a compromised Todd Gurley, who was a big part of what they had accomplished, and he got banged up and hurt at the end, near the end of that season. He played excellent football for them, and they loved him so much that they gave him the contract extension. And Sean McVay said, oh, he's our guy forever, right? Well, then it didn't go so well after that, and it wasn't all Jared Goff's fault. A lot of it was the offensive line falling apart, and so they trade him. But here's the thing I've said about Jared Goff all along, and Dan, if I had $1 for every time I did a radio interview after the trade that sent him to Detroit and said, well, it's only a matter of time until the Lions, draft his replacement, right? And I said, what everybody forgets is this. It's one little it's a known fact, but either forgets it or some people don't realize it. The guy who was the Lions general manager, Brad Holmes, who made that trade. And I don't know if he makes the trade if Jared Goff isn't included in it. He was the Rams director of college scouting when they drafted him first overall.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he knew Jared Goff, and he was confident in him, put the right players around him, and they'll play winning football. And certainly that's exactly what's happened.
I've never seen a trade work out for two teams. Exactly what they wanted to get. Rams got their Super Bowl, and almost every single pick, Howard, that Brad has made up there has panned out, even down to the tight end. All these guys that they have taken, they have built that roster off of that Matthew Stafford deal, the Penei Sewell, all those hits. They've done I'm picking them to win a Super Bowl this year.
They definitely have a shot. I mean, you look at the best teams in the NFL, and heck, they obviously they weren't that far away from getting there last year. And they had to. You never can say you had a game won because you didn't win it, but they were certainly they should have been in control of that game, which they were. And hey, they still lost to a great team. And it's not as if the 49ers haven't come back against other teams. And, people blame Kyle Shanahan for losing Super Bowls as if, no other, like the Chiefs don't come from behind against other teams also. So, but yeah, you have to consider the Lions in the mix for that, in the NFC, no doubt.
What do you think is more likely this year, that Patrick Mahomes three-peats or Lamar Jackson wins his third MVP?
That's a great question. I would say, well, I mean, they both could happen, certainly. What happens with Lamar Jackson, obviously, you have to be that one guy that just jumps out and is way ahead. Well, maybe not way ahead, but, pretty much ahead of all the other candidates. And, last season, the way everything ended, that, it might have been different if other things had happened with some other players. And I was still wondering if, Christian McCaffrey, and he was there in the voting. There's no doubt about it. Had the 49ers beaten the Ravens in that big regular season game at the end of the year, who knows? Maybe the vote turns out differently. But then again, those, McCaffrey and Purdy are splitting votes when it comes to, the way it comes down. So I think they both have a pretty good chance of happening. But like I said, so much, it always depends on, obviously, so many other factors. But the Chiefs know how to win, and they've proven that, certainly. I mean, gosh, everyone talks about 3 Super Bowls in a row. I mean, 6 consecutive conference title games. I mean, that's just pretty much unheard of in this day and age of the NFL. So certainly a lot of things have to go their way. But with, Lamar Jackson's going to have a good year. It's hard to imagine he won't. But the question is, what do all the other guys in the league do? Because there's so many great ones, and it usually is a quarterback that wins. So he has to he has to distance himself from all those guys again. But I think a lot of times voters, especially when a guy's won 1 year, they're kind of looking for something different. If it's close, or if there's someone that also has a compelling case. But there's a lot of guys that could be in line for that, depending on how the season plays out.
Howard, and we're watching greatness. I mean, it's funny that we're just watching, and if you go in the last 27 years, 14 Super Bowls or like something like that, or 13 Super Bowls have been between Brady and Mahomes. It's been insane. These two guys are just following. Usually you don't see that. There's kind of a dip, but this thing is just, and I asked Jason Cole this question, and I'm going to ask you. First, I'm going to ask you about Andy. You mentioned those 6 title games that they were in KC. How about the 5 in Philly? When you look at what he has accomplished as a head coach, Andy Reid, if you had to have one coach win you a football game or prepare an offense for a game or a team, would it be Belichick or would it be Andy Reid?
I mean, I think there's no doubt that they're both great at exactly that, preparing for that big game. And obviously you better have the quarterback. I mean, the one thing that Andy Reid had in Philadelphia is he had Donovan McNabb, not a Hall of Famer, but still a darn good player. And now in Kansas City, he has Mahomes, and they could keep winning for a long, long time. And Belichick, obviously, for the entire run, had Tom Brady. And so you have to have that quarterback to have that shot. So, but to narrow it down to picking that one coach to win a game and prepare his team, I don't know. And actually, in terms of preparing for an opponent, I don't know if there's anybody better than Belichick along that regard, right? Especially defensively, going against an excellent quarterback or an excellent player. But Reid with that offense, tremendous. And now he has one of the better defensive coordinators in a long time in the NFL, who I don't know that he gets his due, Steve Spagnuolo. That was a big reason the Chiefs got there last year, because they weren't quite as good offensively as they had been. But, man, they just played balls out defense, and that was a big factor in how good they were overall as a team.
The Les Snead and Kevin Demoff, I believe they were in St. Louis when you were in St. Louis when they were there. And I've never heard an organization come out in the offseason and say, we did not give Steve Spagnuolo the proper tools for him to be a successful guy. And if there's any guy that deserves an opportunity to be a head football coach in the league, it's Steve Spagnuolo again. Is that just throwing flowers at him, or is that just is there some truth to it? Because I had never heard another organization come out of the nowhere, out of the ether, and just go, Spagnuolo deserves another opportunity. Maybe what they're trying to do is get him out of KC, because I know the 49ers tried to get him out of there too for extra money. But how do you take away from that? Because you were there.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Spagnuolo had them turned around pretty much in 1 year. And they were bad the first year, didn't have a quarterback. They ended up getting Sam Bradford, drafted him. And in the second year of Steve Spagnuolo, they were 7-9 and had a chance in the final game of the regular season. If they had beaten Seattle, they would have won the division. But they lost that game, and Seattle ended up winning the division. But they looked to be, on a path to at least being competitive. And then, and I don't blame Demoff and Kroenke as much. I mean, what happened the next, they lost their offensive coordinator after that year. Pat Shurmur, who was a pretty darn good offensive coach. I don't know why he's not in the league. I've always thought he's a good offensive coach. He gets hired by the Browns to be the head coach, and the Rams hire Josh McDaniel to be the offensive coordinator in the lockout year. And so there was no offseason. You couldn't even sign free agents. You couldn't do anything. You had a draft, but that was about it. And nothing got accomplished on teams in terms of building a team or putting together things until training camp started, when the lockout ended. And so then teams were scurrying around, signing guys here and there. In fact, I think that was the year that the Eagles signed a whole bunch of guys as free agents, and hardly any of them worked out. The team wasn't very good.
Vince Young, and all them guys.
He was one of them. And then the Rams had some key injuries, that year. I think Bradford got hurt again. And so I don't know what more could have happened that year, because there wasn't much you could do because of the whole lockout. And so I will never know what would have happened if he had kept that job and they decided to fire him and the general manager after the year. I didn't think they had, done that bad a job, but they were just handcuffed by that, losing a coach, then not having an off season to try to learn Josh McDaniels' offense. And you're doing it on the fly when training camp begins. That was a recipe for disaster, and a disaster it was.
A couple last questions for you. Have you been surprised by Jonathan Gannon as the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals? And do you feel he's got the program headed in the right direction? I mean, he's been there a couple of years now. Are you getting a sense now that it was the right hire? I mean, they came into Philly last year and they beat them with a bunch of nobodies. I mean, Murray just came back, I think, coming back off the injury a couple weeks maybe prior to that. But are you feeling better about Jonathan Gannon?
Well, I had to be honest, Dan, I had pretty good feelings about him last year.
Okay.
Now, you never know. You never know how a guy's going to take to the job and all that. He'd only been a coordinator for 2 years. He hadn't been a coach for that long in the NFL. But just talking to him, and I know, it doesn't matter if you win the press conference or anything like that, but it just looked like he had a plan and he had a way that he wanted to put together a team and develop a culture of team first. All those things sound like cliches, character guys and team first and all those things, but he insisted on it. But he's a very good communicator. And he was like that with the players. In fact, the one thing that I saw when the NFLPA came out with its player survey in March, that Gannon got it, he ended up being an A- or something like that. And all they did was ask players was, how does the coach parlay the time in terms of time on the field and all those things, and how does he run that part of it? And can you talk to him? Can you communicate with him? And to a man, that's what the players talk about. He's got an open door. I mean, he talks about it. He's got an open door to his office. Player wants to walk by and come in, and they just talk. And it doesn't have to be football all the time. So I think he has that if you will, of leadership in terms of an entire roster. I think Monty Ossenfort's done a good job as the general manager. And I think, too, that he was a balm, if you will, for Kyler Murray. Cliff Kingsbury, I think, is an excellent offensive coach. But they were kind of like fly-by-night, just, throw the ball and do this and do that. Right. Gannon hired assistant coaches in his mind that he thought would coach the way he wanted them to coach. And I think there's something to be said for a quarterback in some situations where the head coach is not the offensive coordinator. There's a buffer in between. And Murray has respect for all those guys. He seemed to hit it off with Gannon right away, even though he was injured and couldn't even get on the field and had to learn a new offense. But Gannon just spelled it out. Here's what we expect from you. Here's what we want. He does that with the whole team, with all the players. Here's what we expect from you, accountability and all that. And Kyler Murray responded to it. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And he's a key to this team being improved. He has to stay healthy. That's obviously number one. But with an improved team around him and what they're doing, they'll be an improved team. How improved, it's impossible to say at this point. But I definitely think they're on the right path.
I have to end this with some Hall of Fame questions here. I get Jason Cole on once a week, and I'll tell you what he said, but I want to hear you. The new names came out, and number one on that list is Eli Manning, baby. 117, 117-1. Obviously beating the GOAT and the GOAT of coaches. He's got those Super Bowls. Hey, not to pollute the question, Jim Plunkett's got 2 Super Bowls too. Not going to pollute it, but where are you right now, early in the process of where you are looking at Eli? Will this be one of the more difficult decisions to be made, whether or not he's a pro football first ballot Hall of Famer?
I just think to be a Hall of Famer at all, I think, is a big question. And it's interesting. And it's interesting you brought up Plunkett, because a good friend of mine, Frank Cooney, who's covered the league forever, he wrote a story talking about, well, everybody says, well, Eli Manning should be in the Hall of Fame because his team won 2 Super Bowls, right? Well, like you said, so did Jim Plunkett. And Jim Plunkett also had a 500 record as a starter in the NFL. He had an awful start to his career, obviously. But once he got out of New England and San Francisco, he played pretty well. And Frank is saying, I'm not saying that Jim Plunkett's a Hall of Famer, but if we use that two Super Bowls for Eli Manning as a big thing, how come that hasn't been the case for Jim Plunkett, who's never even been discussed and is in the seniors category, never even a semifinalist, much less a finalist. So I think there's big questions about it. And my point, and here's where I come down on this generally, Dan, about Super Bowls and winning. I hate it when people say, well, he won 2 Super Bowls. No, the team won. It's a team thing when a team wins. And the truth is that had the Giants defense, by the way, one of those years was Steve Spagnuolo, if the Giants defense hadn't played the way they did against the Patriots and Tom Brady, the Giants would not have even been in the game at the end of it for Eli Manning to have the helmet catch and then the big sideline play to Mario Manningham and all those things. So when you look at the whole career, I question whether he's a Hall of Famer. And there's going to be some who say, well, he should be first ballot guy. I'm not in that camp right now. And I assume he'll make the finals. And boy, that is going to be quite a discussion when we meet, whenever it is in January.
When you use your eyeball test, do you think that guy's better than Phillip Rivers?
No, I don't. I'm glad you brought him up too. I mean,
I don't see him being better than Rivers.
No, and Phillip Rivers, he's going to have the knock against him. Well, they never won. They weren't good in the playoffs. Well, you know what? Jim Kelly, and the Bills, they got to 4 Super Bowls in a row. They never won.
Like when I look at Jim Kelly and I look at Eli Manning, I'm sorry, but I'm not in that room, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And so winning, when you get into the playoffs, and I say this all the time, I mean, when you get into the playoffs, now you're playing the best teams, and it's no sin. It's, to me, it shouldn't be a negative if you just happen to lost to one of the other really good teams in your conference or in the Super Bowl. And the Chargers, had a lot of good, and they didn't have great talent around Phillip Rivers. He did have Antonio Gates, but didn't have great receivers most of the time. But hell, what would happen? They would lose to they'd lose to the Colts with Peyton Manning, or they'd lose to the Patriots, in the playoffs, and they never could get over that hump. You blame that all on the quarterback? No, I think you have, like you said, you have to look at the eye test, look at what a guy's done. And, the 3 quarterbacks in that draft with Manning, Rivers, and Roethlisberger, and, the last 2 have Super Bowls. Phillip Rivers doesn't, but I don't believe that should be a blemish on his overall career.
I don't know if he's better than Sims. Phil was asked to do certain, who Phil Simms was? Phil Simms was Troy Aikman before Troy Aikman. They played within that system. They ran the ball. They played lights out defense. They didn't have, I couldn't tell you who their receivers were outside of the tight end Bavaro, and that was a whole different NFL with the tight end guy. The only guy that was really a prolific guy during that time was Winslow. Nobody else really caught out of that position. That was because of Coryell. So, yeah, I can't wait for this debate. I got one last 2. I'm going to put 2 names in here to you. We've already talked about Eric Allen before, but Lawrence Taylor said this: Darryl Talley belongs in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I threw at LT, I said, what about Leslie O'Neal? So you got Leslie O'Neal and you got Darryl Talley. Have these guys ever been debated on being Hall of Famers?
No, in fact, I'm fairly certain. No, they haven't been debated. No, and in fact, I'm pretty sure they're both in the seniors category now. So that means they were never finalists.
Leslie's got 125. He's got 135 sacks.
Yeah, he was a heck of a player on that defense. And sometimes we all use the term falls through the cracks, and you never really know why that happens. There's a lot of different explanations, but a guy becomes eligible after 5 years, and there's some time that's passed. And here's one of the realities, Dan. What happens a lot of times is that if you don't make the finals or those lists right from the start, then you're behind the 8 ball most of the time. And if you just look at the raw numbers, you have 15 finalists every year, right? 5 of them get elected. There's 10 left that didn't. those 10 are coming back the next year unless one of them falls into the senior category, right? So let's say none of them do. So there's 10, right? You only have 5 other spots for new guys. And a lot of times those are taken up by 2 or 3 first-time eligible guys. And so now you've only got maybe a couple of spots for all these other guys that have been overlooked or fallen through the cracks or people are forgotten about. And if no one takes up the case to really make everyone look a little harder at a certain guy, then the years pass and they don't become a semifinalist. They don't become a finalist. I mean, you know, I had all those years with the Rams. I mean, I've often wondered if Steven Jackson, for example, had been with a good team. I mean, this guy was a warrior.
Absolutely.
Played hurt, had all these 1,000-yard seasons for horrible football teams. And this coming up will be his 5th year of eligibility. And he hasn't even made the top 25. And it's tough for running backs. So there's just so many. And if you look at that senior list, I mean, we get that preliminary list, and you go down it. And I think if it was released to the general public, people would look down the list and go, they'd probably pick 10, 15, 20 guys and say, oh, yeah, he's not in the Hall of Fame. He's not in the Hall of Fame. I know you've mentioned Ed White in the past. There's another guy that's on that seniors list. There's so many that are on that list that you could say are deserving. And unfortunately, there's just not a spot for all of them.
I'm going to have Warren Moon on at 5:30 Eastern. Your take on his career and what he meant to the National Football League.
He meant a tremendous amount to it. And he came out at a time when no one, questioned whether he could be a quarterback in the NFL, and ended up going to the Canadian Football League where they won championships, and then parlayed that into a great contract coming down to play for the Oilers, and then played for a bunch of teams. But the guy was just a heck of a player, and no doubt about it. One thing you have to ask him, though, I'm not sure you're aware of this, and I'm sure you've heard in the Hall of Fame weekend when they have the Nitschke luncheon.
Yeah.
Which is a unique get-together on the Friday, the day before the enshrinement, where it's only the Hall of Famers in the room. And that includes the new Hall of Famers. And every year there's more than 100 Hall of Famers who come back. And they all talk about what this means to them and what it means to have that gold jacket. And the new guys aren't allowed to talk in that meeting at all. They're just there to listen. Well, it was called the Nitschke Luncheon because Ray Nitschke of the Packers, it started with it, and he was the MC, the moderator of it, right? Then he passed, and it went to Deacon Jones. Then he passed, and it went to Willie Lanier, right? All-time greats in the game. Well, Willie's still with us, but he stepped away after last year, and Warren Moon was the new, quote, MC, whatever you want to call it.
Warren Moon Luncheon?
Yes. Well, they're not. It's still called the Nitschke Luncheon. It'll always be called that because that's what it was birthed as.
But he's the MC of that now, huh?
He's the current Ray Nitschke. So be sure to ask Warren Moon about that and what that experience was like.
Absolutely, man. Hey, I got one more. I want to sneak one more on you. How are you with this Veterans Committee? Let me because you may say I'm nuts on this, but don't you think we bring up a guy like Paul Zimmerman or people from the past that wrote? Don't you think you're trying to change history? If you're a player that played during the era when those great sports writers, now I get there was some racism too, but still, my point is, if you couldn't convince the writers of the time that you were a Hall of Famer, what gives the writers of today who never saw those men play the ability to be able to say that those are Hall of Famers? How can you make that assessment? Not you, Howard. I'm talking about people make that assessment when they never saw them play live.
Well, it's a legitimate question. I do think when those guys are talked about, the guys who present their cases do a lot of legwork on it. Try to dig up some film if there is. I know with the Centennial Committee, they did have film, and they'll talk to people, hopefully, who are around sometimes, obviously, with the guys that were enshrined in the Centennial class from the 20s and 30s, and some of them are on the seniors list. Haven't seen them play. But here's the thing has to be remembered. The NFL began in 1920. The first Hall of Fame class was 1963. So that's 40 3 years
of
NFL football.
Wow,
So
I forgot about that.
And granted, there weren't as many teams then or as many players, but you just couldn't take care of everybody. And then as the years go on, and now you're getting into the 70s and into the 80s, and all of a sudden all the new players and the AFL comes into it and all that. And now you have the recency of players that everybody has seen. And so those guys really get forgotten about. So I think that's a big, that's a big part of it. And I think like I said, it always has to be, thought of in that context that, hey, the first class, I think, had 17 in it, and they weren't all players, because you're putting in some of the founders of the league, and the owners and, guys like that. And so there's only so many players you're going to put in each year. And I think one of the things that kept it, now there's 5 modern day guys that can get in. For the longest time, it was only 4. And so when you only have 4, considering how many people have played this sport, that's not that many. And so I think that's one of the things that really hurt for a lot of those guys that were darn good players. And I realize that it's hard to, separate, but there were all pro teams and there were different things like that where the, those watching the game, were able to make judgments. And so we do the best we can. But I think to ignore all them would be worse than, doing what we're doing.
26,000 men, from what the NFLPA told me, a little over 26,000 men in the 100-plus years that the league has been in existence have played in the National Football League, and only 16,000 of them are still alive today, counting the current one. So, like you said, hey, not a lot of dudes, man, and people trying to get into that great Haddle Hall too,
And real quick, I know everyone points to after this year's class that just got enshrined, it's 378 in the hall. Well, that includes owners and contributors and those guys. I went back and figured it out. There's 330 players. That's it from the history of the National Football League. Like you said, with all of those thousands and thousands of players who have, played this game.
26,000 men, only 16,000 are alive. There's only 60. You got a better chance of being an astronaut than you do an NFL football player. Howard, it is always great catching up with you. It is always a history lesson, and I so love it. Thank you so much for spending time with me, man. I really appreciate it. I'll tell Warren you said hi.
Don't lose my number for as long as you did this last time.
Fantastic, man. Hey, don't do that to me. You know me. Hey, thank you, Howard. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Take care.
You got it. The great Howard Balzer, Pro Football Hall of Fame voter. Man, I love talking with him. And he's been voting on the Hall of Fame for so many years. Okay, guys, where are we on the like list right now? By the way, Warren Moon will join us at 5:30 Eastern. I can't wait to talk to our friend. Where are we right now on the like list? Where are we on the like list here? See if we can get that bad puppy to 201. Let's see if we can get 49 more to get it to 250. Do me a favor, guys. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. The legendary Hall of Famer Warren Moon will join us at 5:30 Eastern. We'll talk to him about Jalen Hurts. We'll talk to him about Jalen. Is he an elite quarterback? Hey, you know, the style of Vic Fangio, does it work today? Let me throw this off you here. Do you know Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall draft choice, right? Do you know what he made at Southern Cal in his 2 years, I think it was, since he came over from Oklahoma? Do you know how much money he made? $10 million. So do you think an old school coach is going to go up to Caleb Williams and go, hey, dickhead, that's not how you throw a seam pass? Probably not going to work. These kids coming out of college today, they're millionaires. Quinn Ewers has already made $8 million. Okay? Already made $8 million. Crazy. Wayne goes, this chat and show is for you, Sills, an NFL D lineman, so he don't mind talking shit with you. So hit the like for you. Thank you very much, Wayne. I appreciate that, dog. Thank you, brother. If he's a serious player, he'll get past that and listen up. Yeah. You sound old school and old too when you hear that. Oh, hey, I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong. But dude, guys walking out of college today are millionaires. Do you know that Arch Manning, the backup quarterback at Texas, makes $3.5 million a year? He hasn't even really started at Texas. So when he rolls into the NFL, if he ever does, this guy's going to have like $15 million in the bank. He needs it, the old man. I'm sure the morals and stuff, the family. I get it. But I'm saying it's a different world today. When I heard that Caleb Williams had made $10 million at USC and he was only there 2 years, I was like, holy shit. No. Yeah, it's more of a coaching point, more than the fact that I'd be upset with the guy making that money. I'm not. Whatever the guy makes, it's long overdue. Okay, that's not where I'm at. I'm talking more about being able to connect with these guys. How do you connect with a guy who makes more money than you? Think about this, Yale. So he's going to have more money and be worth more than the position coach that coaches him. and maybe to a point, even the head coach. This guy may have more money than the head coach coming out of college. It's a different world than talking to these kids. It's a completely different world. I mean, imagine how much Caitlin Clark would have made if she stayed at Iowa. Shit, there was talk, Chuck, that Fox Sports wanted to pay her to stay in college. Look what she's done for the WNBA. I posted something on my Twitter page. I can't believe all the chicks in the WNBA that are so jealous of her, and they just can't get past their own egos. It's a damn shame. Holy shit. $37,000 for first-year players to go into that league. She gets teed up because she's something about disrespecting the game. The refs hate her, and the WNBA players hate her. They were not set up and ready for her. By the way, this is why I can talk like this on my show. Okay? The black athletes in the WNBA are not getting this. And I got it, and I get it. 28 years, the black African-American women who are sensational helped build that league. To what end? It was a money sieve for the NBA for 28 years. They never made any money. Nothing. As great as the Diane Taurasi's and everybody that have ever played. Okay? Everybody. It didn't matter who you were. I don't know anybody that basically outside of Brittany Griner and a couple women on the U.S. women's team, I never watched a second of it. I watched the Indiana Fever the other night against Seattle. The first time I watched women's basketball since the Olympic thing. I get the ego. So, boy, man, that is some vice, that ego. You just can't shake it. That chick and Angel Reese are going to make so much money for the WNBA. They need to embrace that stuff. Hype it up. Hype that rivalry up. Make it bird magic. Put the best players on the teams you can and have that thing for the next decade. Battle back and forth like it was Lakers and Celtics of the 1980s. It'll revolutionize the WNBA, and everyone else will benefit from it. But the women are having such a cow with it, she's getting all the flowers. By the way, she might actually be one of the top 3 players in the game. Okay? I mean, she has gotten so much better. But the NBA and the WNBA were not ready for this. It's like Tiger Woods in an all-white sport of golf. Tiger dominating a white sport. Look what it did for golf. More golf courses were made. Nike had a brand. He was appointment-setting television. It's nothing wrong talking about this. Don't feel uncomfortable. Your news networks sell race. They sell it every day. Trump's a white supremacist. Kamala's not black. Whether you buy into that shit, you always have to know. They go to commercial break. They make money off of your passion. On what side of the aisle you're on. It's a setup. Because they know half the room is going to be black, half the room's going to be white. Those networks divide us for a reason, to make money. They know this. Selling race is such a big business today. Is it sad? It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Is it right? That's irrelevant too. Okay? It's irrelevant. Dude, this is not a political thing or anything. This is about making money for the WNBA and women and enhancing women's sports. Finally, you have a league that people want to watch. I don't want to watch MLS. I hate soccer. Okay? I mean, I don't want to watch anything like that. But I'm going to watch WNBA because of Caitlin Clark, and I like the battle of Angel Reese. They got something special, and they don't know what to do with it. It's sad. You got players on Seattle bumping up on her, referees throwing stupid fouls at her. Why? Because she's too popular and she's bigger than your sport? Jordan was bigger than his sport. Michael Jordan was prospered on the shoulders of Larry Bird and Magic. Hey guys, some of you guys remember this. Dude, the only sneakers everybody wore were Chuck Taylors and the first Converse. And the only reason we wore Converse, like the leather Converse, is because Bird and Magic had them. And Dr. J. Dr. J had the Converse. We all wore the Converse because of Dr. J. Those three dudes, man. Then all of a sudden the shoe deals in the shoe business went and exploded. Dude, you could do so much here. It's really a shame. I saw people what they're saying about her. And then you got stupid as ESPN because she's white. They don't want to give her the Rookie of the Year award. How dumb. Give her the Rookie of the Year award. Dude, you've got a gold mine. I don't know. I think people sometimes just dismiss the message. Crazy. They don't get it, Dan. The more successful she is, the more successful everyone will be. Absolutely, Charlie. Okay? I mean, absolutely. There is no question that, hey, my God almighty, wouldn't it be great if some of the black players and women who had absolutely put their backs into this league were finally rewarded? Absolutely. Whatever means necessary, to use a Malcolm X quote, to get to that salary, I don't give a shit what that is. Any means necessary. It'd be great to see all these women that were the founding people get this league up and going where you're making $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 and $1 million eventually. Be great. I mean, it's a travesty what they're paid now. 37 grand. Caitlin Clark's going to make $50 million this year on endorsements and advertisements. 37? Shit, that doesn't pay for her Prada bag. Whatever. Before we move on, I want to talk a little more about Kellen Moore. But a list of the top most underrated players in pro football came out. And I want to read you two names that are on this list. Okay? Number 1, James Cook, running back, Buffalo. Love the kid. Think the kid's going to be a star this year with Josh Allen. Number 2, most underrated player in the league, DeAndre Swift, Bears, running back. Number 2. That guy played with an Eagle, right? Number 3, Aaron Jones, running back, Minnesota Vikings. Number 4, Chris Olave, wide receiver, New Orleans Saints. Number 5, TJ Edwards, Chicago Bears, linebacker. So wait a minute here. So Xander's great GM, Howie Roseman. 2 of the most underrated players in pro football, TJ Edwards, 5th, and DeAndre Swift, 2nd. Okay. What happened here? You don't let those guys walk out the building? You let both of them walk out the building and they're both in Chicago. Okay. Hey. Okay. Hey, get this. Here's JM now. DeAndre Swift is overrated now because he's not on the Eagles. Okay. Well, I hope your boy gets 1,100 yards. I do. Hey, I hope Barkley gets over 1,100. Hey, shit, he's got to get over 1,300 to match Miles Sanders. Okay? What's his name? He goes, he can't block, and your boy can't stay healthy. Okay. Damn. 2 dudes that were on the Eagles. As we're getting closer to Labor Day, all right? Here are 6 names that are going to be dealt potentially before the rosters are set. Okay? Sills, you don't have to be a genius GM when the owner lets you make Madden deals. Woo-wee! Hold on here. Hold on here. That was too good. That was too good, dude. That was too good of a take. Hey, man, you don't have to be that great a GM when you got a guy who could just allow you to make Madden deals. The number 1 name on the list is Kenny Pickett. That's why he's number 2 in Philly. Howie Roseman's getting calls on him and how he's not going to devalue a chance to trade for him. John McMullen says they're not trading. There is no way Howie Roseman would not accept a 3rd-round pick for him now, knowing full well what he's seen in camp. That guy is not a backup quarterback, and he's not the future backup quarterback in Philly. That is not what that guy looks at and looks at him. And when you look at him, do you see him as Jalen Hurts' backup where you can win games with that guy? Not a chance. Not a chance. If they came in, hey, and by the way, think about this. Xander says, you're not getting a 3rd for Pickett. Well, are you shocked that Trevor Lawrence got $55 million? Are you shocked that Jared Goff got $53 million? Are you shocked that a 36-year-old Kirk Cousins got $49 million? You overpay for decent quarterbacking. Why wouldn't you over offer in a trade a draft pick that you know the guy might not be worth, but you're desperate? I mean, go with the common sense. If you'll overpay for a quarterback, you know fully he's not worth $23 or $53 million. Are you real? Wait, so you're telling me Dak Prescott, you're going to pay him $60 million, knowing full well he's not going to deliver a Super Bowl to you? What's the point? Why are you paying him? Well, it's the market. It's an inflated market. Well, if it's an inflated market salary-wise, how he knows somebody will offer up a 3rd? Pay the man. Here's a guy here that goes like this. Let's throw good money after bad talent. Just pay him. Pay Dak $60 million. Hey, I could go 12 wins, 11 wins with Cooper Rush or Brock Purdy. All it takes is me to put talent around him. Look at Hurts. Hurts and Purdy are a greatest example of this. You talk about a guy, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts got that money playing. That's a different Jalen Hurts that got that money than the Hurts is now. You're trying to evolve him into something different. The Jalen Hurts that won that $50 million deal is not the Jalen Hurts of today. He's not. Okay? He's not. This is a brand new, different Jalen Hurts you're talking about in 24. So when you reference 22, you should actually stop because he'll not resemble anything of 22. Those days are gone. So 22 is a non-factor. Jalen Hurts is not going back to that style of play. So 22 is a non-factor. I mean, they're going to throw the ball more. They're not going to run the ball more like they did in 22. I mean, every time I hear people constantly always telling me, well, I want him to go back to playing. You should stop that. Let me get to Kellen Moore here before we get our friend Warren Moon on. Warren will join us here in a couple minutes. Zero blitz stuff they're working on. There is no question that the priorities of Kellen Moore being brought in to Philadelphia has been to solve the riddle of the blitz and solve that problem. I'll ask Warren that situation. What's the number one thing? Hey, do me a favor, please hit the like button. Thank you, guys. He was brought in. This was one of the major priorities. Man, Green Bay is going to absolutely blitz the living shit out of Philadelphia in that game. They are going to bring every single exotic blitz they can possibly bring. That's why they're working on the short game, the screen game, because they know it's coming. By the way, it's a fail-safe too. Hey, blitz comes, there's an auxiliary for him to get the ball to. I've never seen a quarterback in his first 2 years starting like Jalen Hurts have no short passing game whatsoever. He had no skill set at getting the ball in short space. He had to be the only quarterback in the league that didn't have a short intermediate passing game. All the stuff was on the numbers, which became predictable, which became unreliable. The only guy, everyone, like I said before, everyone got their numbers. Too bad the team sucked. Isn't that crazy? Everyone played well that the ball was going to, except the team. The quarterback got worse, but the receivers got better. Wait, I thought that was supposed to be the reverse. Think about that. When you have two high-profile receivers, is it the notion that you have a big-time wideout that's going to help your quarterback grow? Well, Jalen Hurts a year ago, and get this, here's what we'll do. Well, bad coaching got those receivers paid. Bad coaching got A.J. Brown a contract raise. Did they not? And got an extension for Devontae. Bad coaching got an extension of a $25 million deal for Devontae Smith and a $35 million deal for AJ. Couldn't have been that fucked up. But yet Hurts didn't play well. So it's not the receivers, it's all on Brian. And it's all on Nick. Nothing to do with Hurts. Okay. Wow. No player accountability? None? Damn. Talk about excuse machine. I mean, you got to be kidding me, right? Right? I mean, accountability for everybody in that. We're going to effort Warren Moon here in a minute. We hope to catch up with the Hall of Fame quarterback. Dan, we could stop Green Bay running game, and now they signed Jacobs. Could be a problem. Charlie, I think Josh Jacobs has had a better career than Saquon Barkley's had. Look at the numbers. Now, and he's been on a shitty team too. Josh Jacobs has had a hell of a career so far. He's put up big numbers. And I would say this, probably the Giants are still a shittier team than the Raiders. But Jacobs, he was very productive, in my opinion. Very productive with the Raiders. I don't know how the Raiders let his ass go. Forrest, do you think Jalen is smarter than he's been allowed to show? Yeah. Forrest, I think that's one of the things that Kellen Moore's offense is putting on display is that Hurts is he's a smarter player now. He's a smarter player for sure. Yes. So Barkley injured or not, you'll find out right after the program. Birds 365, there's a special show that special Birds 365 with our friend Xander Krauss and with John. I'm going to text Warren here, see where we're going here. Hopefully he's able to come on. So hopefully we're able to catch up with him here. I'm guessing bring up hey, Minshew got named the starting quarterback. I saw that with the Raiders. I absolutely saw that he got named. Look at what Shane Steichen did for that guy. Got him a starting job. Got him a Pro Bowl situation in Indianapolis, and now he's the starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. Pretty crazy. Warren Moon's going to join us here in a couple seconds. He just texted me, so we're going to be able to get his thoughts here on some of the things. I want to ask him right out of the gate about Jalen, and I also want to ask him about blitz pickups and today's game and how, the evolution, how you read defenses, how long it took him to go through that process of reading defenses. So, it's a progression. And the things you're hearing, especially what you're hearing him say here, pressure and blitz were a major part of what the preseason has been. Our installations are getting more involved right now. So we're looking at what we're doing with our fail safes and our keys. There's no question that was one of the major things that was implemented for him. I'm talking Jalen on what Kellen Moore was brought in for. I thought something else was interesting that he said about the right guard position. They do not want to be committed in any way whatsoever right now with Micaiah Becton for whatever reason. That I don't know why. That they don't want to be tied into that. I'm really sad to hear that Trevor Keegan ended up getting hurt today in camp. But, boy, I'll tell you what. Now, I just got a little bit of a tidbit here about Warren Moon from my friend Howard Balzer. So the Nitschke Luncheon is now emceed by Warren Moon. And I'm wondering because, see, my uncle's bust is in the Hall of Fame, Andy Robustelli. Nitschke knew Andy, obviously, back when the Giants used to play the Packers back in the day. So I think the progression went from Nitschke to Willie Lanier to Warren Moon. Let's bring the Hall of Famer in now, our friend Warren Moon. And get his thoughts. So wait a minute, you're now in the Nitschke luncheon? Is that you now taking them on? Folks, you heard Howard say this. Only Hall of Famers and the current guys who are Hall of Famers, they're not allowed to talk. Only the rest of them are. So now you're the MC of this event?
I am, and it's quite an honor. We left out Deacon Jones. He was right after Ray Nitschke. He did it for a few years till he passed away, and then Willie Lanier took over, and now I'm the host. And what an honor it was to do that this year. We had about 120 guys come back for the luncheon, and it went without a hitch. I think we had some really great talks by different guys about what the Hall of Fame and what football has meant to their careers. We had guys talk about things they're struggling with in their lives. We really had a lot of good feelings and thoughts that came out. And like you said, the new inductees, they just have to sit there and listen to all this. Then they get a chance to maybe talk next year. But great experience for all those young guys to take a look at it. And like I said, we had a great turnout. And it's just an honor on my part to be able to host something like this, to give it some structure and just keep it moving.
Warren, for you, does it, when you were first initially inducted, had to be an insane emotion, and to where you are today has to be, I would think, a different emotion for you on how you see that honor. Do you look now at it with more reverence than you did even when you were inducted, or has that faded at all, or has it grown for you? There's only, get this, Howard said there's only 300 men when you take the contributors and the coaches out. And there are only 26,000 men have ever played it, and 16,000 of us are only alive today that have played 100-plus years of football. How do you look at that honor that you have right now where you're one of those 300 men?
Yeah, and even though you can't get cut off this team even after you die, there's only about maybe 175, 180 of us still alive. Some of the guys aren't able to travel and different things like that, so they don't come back. So there's not. We probably lose, I don't know, 8 to 10 guys a year, to death. So this is a very elite club, and I'm very honored to be a part of it. But I'm more honored, as to answer your question, here 18 years later that I've been in the Hall of Fame, that I've watched and seen so many different things happen. I've watched the growth of the museum. I've watched the growth of the Hall of Fame and its exposure around the country. I've watched how great the induction ceremony has become now on television as a TV product. I'm on the board of trustees, so I get a chance to see everything and how it works. So I really appreciate it a little bit more that way. I'm on the Players Advisory Committee, so I'm really involved in everything that we're doing there. And you appreciate it more when you see all the hard work and effort that goes into everything that they do every day to make that place the way it is.
Warren, are you proud of the evolution of the position of quarterback from when you played to where it is now? And you can fill in the blank, whatever that means, when it talks about the evolution, because now we see more of your style. Even though you weren't a guy who was going to go vertical up the field, you ran around, but not the prolific runner that you see, like maybe a Lamar Jackson. That's right. Being more accepted in the game. Do you like the evolution, and has it been fun for you to watch the evolution of the position?
Yeah, it really has. To see the athleticism now that goes into the position. It doesn't matter what color you are. You better have some athletic ability to you, whether it's Josh Allen, whether it's Joe Burrow. I mean, I can name a ton of guys, Trevor Lawrence. All these guys have great athleticism to go along with their passing ability. And that's the way the game has evolved to, because defenses have become so much faster and much more athletic that your quarterback has to be that way as well. So the game has kind of evolved into more of the style that I played when I first started and came into the league. African Americans are really thriving right now, something I'm really, really proud of, because I know I played a small part in that happening as far as guys getting more opportunities. Throwing the ball all over the lot, something that I loved doing when I played. I threw it a lot, and I wish I could play in today's game the way the rules have kind of changed to become more of a quarterback passers and a receiver game. So the game is in good shape, and you look at the ratings. I mean, it just keeps creating more revenue. You see the players' salaries just keep rising. It's all good right now.
Warren, I wonder, is it a merit badge for you? And not to get too personal on this question, but I mean, they basically said no to you when you were at Washington because you were black. They just said no, and you had to go to the Edmonton Eskimos where you won championships there. You had to come down here, and you ended up being one of the most prolific passers of all time. You probably knew it the entire time. How frustrating was that journey at the beginning? And like you said, I mean, it must be such a reward for you now to go, I was right the whole time, man. It just had to open people's eyes. How long did it take for you to open people's eyes?
Well, it was a process that started all the way back in high school. I couldn't get on the field as a 10th grader in high school because the coach just didn't kind of believe in me as well.
In the LA area.
Yeah, in Hamilton High School. Fortunately, the varsity coach saw my abilities, and he had no problems with my skin color. He just wanted to win football games. So he made me his varsity starting quarterback as a junior. And then when I got recruited to go to colleges wouldn't recruit me as a quarterback. They wanted me to change positions. And I went through that same whole rigmarole going to junior college for a year just to try to create more offers for myself. And finally, John James at the University of Washington thought I could play big-time college football and gave me that opportunity. So it just kind of went from level to level. And then when I came out of Washington as the Pac-8 Player of the Year, as the Rose Bowl's most valuable player, the NFL didn't want me to play quarterback either, so I went up to Canada. So I was used to it by then, Dan, but I just kept holding to my guns that I knew I could play because every level that I went to, I was at the top of every level that I played. But it was just a matter of that next level giving me that chance. And I knew it was going to be difficult for me to play this position when I first started it because there wasn't a lot of guys that looked like me. So I knew it would be difficult, but I just kept forging forward. And here I am today. A Hall of Famer of 18 years and 2 Hall of Fames, and pretty proud of my career.
Well, I'm very proud of the fact that a hurricane put you in as the starting quarterback there at Washington too, Don James. So, University of Miami has a little bit of love for Don James. So I'm glad to hear that a U guy ended up seeing the right thing here too. So let me bring you into the modern day. When you hear the word elite, does it aggravate you? Does it bug you? What's elite? Because to me, elite quarterbacks have different definitions. I mean, to sit there and say you and Dan Marino because you hadn't won Super Bowls, I mean, it's really weird. I'm not going to go, hey, no disrespect to Trent Dilfer, but that's not what I see when I see the word elite and Warren Moon and Jim Kelly and them guys. What's your definition of an elite quarterback in today's NFL?
Well, I think it's a guy that can carry a football team, not by himself, because football is too much of a team sport for one guy to carry it, but he can be the more dominant figure on that football team. He doesn't need a whole lot of pieces around him to be successful. He can still be one of the really good quarterbacks in this league without having maybe starfire talent at other positions like at wide receiver or running back. He doesn't have elite players at those positions, but he makes those players a lot better just because of who he is. So that's what I look at when I see elite. I think the quarterbacks that are able to win championships, they have that complete team, and they're the guy that's probably makes the difference. Although in some of those other teams, like you talked about with Trent Dilfer, where they have one of the greatest defenses of all time, they didn't need him to be great. They needed him to be elite. They needed him to be efficient and not turn the football over and do those types of things, where other teams need their quarterback, like a Patrick Mahomes, they need him to be a little bit more elite and make big plays at the end of football games to win those games. So elite are those guys that are special, that can carry a team when they don't have all the talent, or they're the guy that can get the team over the hump when they do have a really good team, and they're the ones that are going to make those big plays to make the difference in championship games.
Warren, I heard a young guy say this, and obviously he's a prisoner of the moment. And he said, we're probably in the greatest era of quarterbacking. And I'm like, well, hang on now. Warren Moon, Jim Kelly, Joe Montana, Dan Marino,
John Elway, Troy Aikman, I can go on and on. I think I played in one of the most quarterback-rich eras that there were. And if we had the rules the way they are right now with those guys playing the game, you would have really saw something. So this era isn't over yet, and it's off to a great start. There's no question about it. There's some really good young quarterbacks that are doing some great things in the game right now. But I would put my era up against any era right now because all those guys I just named are all in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
and they're all sensational. I played against them. Jalen Hurts.
Enough out Brett Favre.
Brett Favre too, right? I mean, holy cow, man. The air was just littered here. Jalen Hurts, what's your spin on him? Warren, we're based in Philly. You know, my take is he can't win a game without his legs. It's not a rip. People think I'm ripping him. Same with Lamar. Lamar's not going to win a Super Bowl without his legs. So again, it's just am I caught in just the prototype that the quarterback has to be a pocket passer? He has to be a guy throw for $4,000, or is it one of these quarterbacks are going to win because that's what's coming out of the college ranks?
No, you've got to be able today, like I said earlier in this interview, to have that dual threat capability. You've got to be more athletic at the position. You've got to be able to use your legs when you need to, but you definitely have to be able to throw the football with consistency and throw it from the pocket, because sometimes teams aren't going to allow you to be the scrambler. If anything, they're going to have more of a controlled pass rush where they're not letting guys fly by you so you can step up and run. They're going to make sure they keep you in the pocket. So if they're going to keep you in the pocket with the way they rush the passer, you better be able to burn them that way if they're not going to put a lot of pressure on you by throwing the football from the pocket. So I think with Jalen, last year, I don't think he was healthy. He wasn't the same guy that he was the year before when he almost won a Super Bowl. And I thought he was the best player in that Super Bowl game, even though they lost the football game. But I just don't think he had the ability to be the dual threat guy that he wanted to be last year. They had some mix-ups in their coaching staff with their offensive coordinator. That was different. So he wasn't the same guy. I'm hoping this year that he's come in healthy. He's got all his weapons signed, brings in Saquon Barkley to be another weapon to take a little pressure off of him. And the big key is he's healthy and able to use his legs the way he needs to go along with throwing the football. I think you'll see a better Jalen Hurts this year.
Two last questions for you here. Do you think the reason that you have to be, Warren, a more of a dual threat guy, because during your era and the quarterbacks we talked about, there was no salary cap. And now with guys, that's a constant change in the turnover when it comes to players leaving. You have so much more turnover that you're going to have deficiencies. And the number one place you're going to get usually deficiencies is the most expensive group, which is the O-line. You're going to lose a lot of guys out of that position because of salary cap implications. So because you can hide when you have a dual threat guy, but if you have a drop back quarterback and your O-line's nothing, you know this, you can't have a $50 million quarterback and a $5 million O-line. You're going to go nowhere with it.
Well, you look at the quarterbacks that are coming into the league now, they have to have that dual threat capability.
Yeah.
You look at Bo Nix now, who's probably going to be the starter at Denver. He's a guy that can move around. You look at Jaden Daniels scoring the Washington Commanders. He can run with his legs. He can throw the football. You look at Caleb Williams, another guy, dual threat. He can do all those things. So that's the way this game is going. And if you don't have that type of quarterback on your team, you're going to be behind the eight ball because of the reasons you said. With salary cap and you're going to have to pay your quarterback a ton of money. You're going to not be able to be as strong in other positions. So you're not going to see much more of the classic just drop back passer, and that's all he can do. I don't even know if there's one in the league right now. And if they do have somebody who does have that, they're probably not going to be very successful. So that's the way the game is going. The salary cap continues to keep going up. That's a feather in the cap for all the players, because you can still pay your quarterback. Look at Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he's probably like the 10th, 12th highest paid quarterback in the league right now. He could easily be the highest paid quarterback in the league, but you don't see him arguing about it because he's winning championships the way his salary is structured. And at some point, they'll take care of him and make sure he's one of the highest paid players. But right now, to him, winning is more important, and he's making a lot of money, and he'll keep continuing to make a lot of money, especially if he keeps winning all these championships.
Well, finally here, I asked Jason Cole and I asked Howard Balzer this question, and I'm going to ask a Hall of Famer this question. If you had a 60-minute football game and you had to pick between Brady and Mahomes to win a Super Bowl, who are you taking?
Wow, that's quite a question. That is quite a question. I'm going to go with youth. So I'm going to go with Mahomes right now, only because he's a younger player. If you're talking about present Brady, compared to present Mahomes, I'm going to go with Mahomes. And it just depends on what era, what years you're talking about, but I'm going to go with the younger guy right now.
I think he can do more than Brady. I just think that when he has to pull the RPO out, he does.
Yeah.
Brady never had the ability to be able to use his legs. I mean, Warren, he wins that Super Bowl because he takes off in the second half against the Niners.
That's what won the game for him. About a 22-yard run scramble that got him right down there in scoring territory. So you've got to be able to make those types of plays. You don't have to make a ton of them, but you've got to be able at the certain points of the ball game be able to make those plays, and that's what Patrick can do now, and he does it consistently.
Crescent Moon, how is all the foundations that you're working with? I know you have a golf tournament down in Houston every year. I know you do a lot of work there, also up in Seattle. I'm sure you probably do stuff in Minnesota too, so you got them probably all over the country and where you've played. So how are the foundations coming?
They're doing really well. Our Brothers in Arms Foundation, the one we formed with Andre Ware and Vince Young, we just sent our scholarship students back to school. We just had our first college scholarship graduating class this past June. So it's going off without a hitch. We had a family night where we had all the students come together with their families, and we sent them all off to start the next semester because, back in that part of the country, school has gotten back started already. So all those things are going very well, and we're just going to keep continuing to do what we can do with the money that we raise and try and help as many young kids that want to be successful in life as we possibly can.
Absolutely. Anytime I'm here for you, anything you need promoted, you always let me know. We'll do it. Thank you so much, Warren, for your valuable time, and I appreciate our friendship. And really, it's gone on over 20 years. I watched a game between you and me when I was with the Cowboys, and I got to the Cowboys in 90. And it was 89. We went down there for a preseason game in the Dome, and we played you down there. And I got a picture. I'm going to text it to you. It's me hitting you. So I saw this picture and I said, "Hey, I want Warren on."
The ball was gone already.
Of course it was. Warren, thank you, man, for your friendship. Of course it was, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, Warren.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Dan. I'll talk to you down the road.
You got it. Our friend Warren Moon, one of the greatest of all time. Oh, my God. What a great football player, man. He did play in the golden age of football, and what a great player. All right, guys, do me a favor. Hit the like button. Where are we in the like list? Come on now. Warren Moon popped in on us. I didn't even know Warren was going to pop in. He texts me and goes, "Hey, you need me on?" I really did. I sent him a picture of me hitting him, and I found it. And I sent it to him, and he goes, "Okay, great. So this is why you want me on?" I go, "Well, you just reminded me, man." Hey, very good stuff. I really appreciate you guys so much. Please hit the like button. Keep it here. 9 to go for 250. Let's go, guys. Let's see if we can hit that number. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your greenhouse? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
I'm awake, or you? Stills is a plug. Well, you're a butt plug. How's that? Cosmo, what up? Oh, okay. Hey guys, I really appreciate it, man. That was really awesome with Warren Moon. Stay tuned now. By the way, get this. Latest on Saquon Barkley, also Trevor Keegan. John McMullen was out there at practice, so he's going to give you the latest special edition of Birds 365. We want to thank our friends at BetUS. We are powered by them, and these 4 hours were brought to you by BetUS. Stay tuned now for Birds 365. Joe, Xander, all of you, thank you. 2 to 6 tomorrow. We'll see you on the flip side.